one thing we do have is balls.
Oh, stop it.
This is Tall Can Audio.
Congratulations on all the balls. Welcome to another edition of the Versage Sessions of Tall Can Audio.
Thank you.
Matt Robinson, Lee Versage.
I do have a lot of balls.
Okay. I guess it was you I was congratulating. Then
You mean it wasn't?
Torts is always an interesting press conference. We might get into that in a couple of minutes here.
Hi, Matt.
How's it going, man?
Oh, if I were any better, it'd be you. Yeah.
Okay. That's a shame, actually.
Well, I know. That's pretty much why I said it.
Yeah. Okay. We should let the good listener in on the fact that this will be the last one you're in studio here for a while. You're still going to be around. We're still going to have the Versage sessions.
I'll be around.
Yeah.
Just not
but from
around.
far, far away.
Yeah, off to Europe
To Europe.
for a little bit. We'll see how long.
Yeah. At
No.
least through the holidays.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
Yeah, no, exactly.
sure through the
Although
holidays.
the good listener doesn't know, so we're...
Yeah, for sure through the holidays, and then we'll see how long. There is no return date set
Right.
yet.
You might wind up loving it over there and just set up shop.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm going to set up shop permanently. I'm not allowed to set up shop permanently over there. But yes, I am going, and would love to hear actually from people on some suggestions. Going to go to the southern part of Italy, and then going to Portugal. So those are two things that are absolutely happening.
Right.
But here's what I wanted to get the listeners' advice on. Well, just life in general, because most listeners have a better life than I do. So, but I have this 4 or 5 day stretch that I'm going to be going from the south of Italy to Portugal, but I want to go somewhere in between.
Okay. So you're looking for some tips, some things to see.
Some recommendations about cities that, you can fly a lot of different places.
Oh, yeah.
For pretty cheap over there. So, but just looking for something to do, and I'm going to set some ground rules here. Number one, that I'm a pretty, if you can believe this, you probably don't believe this, but I'm a pretty low-key traveler. I don't need, I'm going to be real honest with you. I'm driving down Maryville today going, I don't know how he even lives here.
It stinks. Maryville stinks.
Maryville might...
no part, living here, that's not what I mean. I don't
Yeah.
But Maryville stinks.
The road might be the worst road. It's packed like it's the night before Christmas where all the stores are going to shut down for 5 days.
Well, and honestly,
It's crazy.
so I'm a block or two over, and people use the street I'm on to go around it. So they come over, they fly up past our
People
place.
or me?
I have no idea.
No, if I needed to do that, I am that guy though.
Most people seem to be, and so they fly up and down this street, and it to the point where sometimes it's pretty dangerous. There's a couple buildings on this street and one big plaza, but the amount of traffic is way more than that because it's people trying to get around.
Well, and it's a windy road. You actually, when you get to the stop sign out here, you can't see necessarily all the cars.
Doesn't slow anybody down. They're just whipping by. Man.
What I'm telling people in this whole story is, I don't need to be in the downtown center of a city to see, I don't know. I'm not going to Paris to see the Eiffel Tower.
Okay. You're looking for a low-key kind of thing.
I'm looking
see
for
here.
something. It doesn't,
nice beaches or...
Well, it can be a city, just a little bit more low-key. Hey, if you've never traveled here, you should give this city a shot for 3 or 4 days. It's under the radar.
Right.
It's not like Rome or Paris
You're
or...
not being jammed onto the tube in London.
Yeah, I don't need that.
Right.
But I need something along the way that will pique my interest.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to, I guess, putting down all of the suggestions that people will put through because they're your listeners.
Sure. They're our listeners.
Oh, they're our listeners.
Sure.
So maybe I should be more excited.
I guess so.
Okay, I am excited. So I'm excited to go, but then in the world of Lee, and I don't mean to take over, but I'm only on once a week, and you're on every goddamn day, so it's
basically
fine.
Yeah.
I'm a walking disaster, and I've done shows, and AJ and Creech and a lot of the guys that know me from the station, because I've done shows on things that I've done to myself.
Right.
And we can talk about it at another time, but I have dislocated my shoulder falling off a treadmill. I've dislocated and separated my shoulder in 3 feet of ocean trying to teach somebody much younger than me how to body surf. I have...
That's the person you should be learning from.
High sprained my ankle curling. I have... there isn't something... that hasn't happened. I've had 2 back surgeries. I've had 4 kidney stones.
4?
Yes.
Good Lord.
And don't ever go through it once.
No, I'm not planning on it.
I'm telling you, it's the worst. Anyone who's ever been through it, you can't compare it. You can only listen to women who say what childbirth is like. Mm-hmm. And I like to talk to women that unfortunately have had childbirth and a kidney stone to try and gauge at least somewhat, because people say, and women will tell you, it's on par. 4 times. One time I was having one, it was passing, and I was doing a show with Glenn Kolka, and it was like this, me and you across the way with the glass, but I was producing. I love Glenn as a human being, but this was early in his tenure, not the greatest host of all time. Fantastic personality. They put him in a bad spot. Never helped him. He just got the raw end of the deal.
Right.
He was really good, but he could have been better with a little help.
Sure.
And they just left him on an island. It's like, here, go host this show, and across the glass we're going to put Versage. You guys go.
Yeah.
He'd never been on. He just had this bigger than life personality. But in the middle of the show, I got up and I knew I was having a kidney stone. And I'm like, I got to go. See you later, Glenn. And instead of doing the smart thing and waiting for an ambulance to get there to take me, I was like, nope, it'll take too long and this pain is crazy. I'm just going to drive myself. Well, I drove myself to the Ottawa hospital, on Smythe.
Right.
And why I went there instead of the Civic from downtown, I don't know. I just wasn't in the right frame of mind. And I got to the corner of Alta Vista and Smythe as soon as you get off of Riverside and you go on there, and there was an accident. Everything was backed up.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Well, I just drove on the other side of the road, and basically it was to the cops who were in the middle of the intersection with this accident. I'm going to go through, and you want to come get me?
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I don't care. Come into the...
Shoot me, though, if you do.
Yeah, but
put me right out of my misery.
I'm 2 kilometers away from the hospital. Come arrest me and give me a ticket. Whatever you need to do, but do it there. Because I'm
going.
They never followed me, which is good. But I drove on the other side of the road, oncoming traffic. It was just a stupid decision. I've had everything happen to me in my life. There isn't a bone in my body I probably haven't broken. I've got hit by a baseball in the nose, broke my nose in 17 places, have plastic in my nose. I also got hit in the forearm, just at bat, playing softball. And I was older. I was 19 years old or something.
Right.
And, you go to the bar after, and that's all you want to do. And there's my dad going, tough it out, you little, you got a bruise in your forearm. And I went, and a week later, I was like, I'm going to the hospital because I can't move my arm. I literally can't move it. And I got there, and they put a cast on to just below my elbow. Mm-hmm. And of course, my stepmom is freaking out at my dad because my dad's basically telling me what a
toughen up.
Yeah. But then I went to see the orthopedic 4 or 5 days later, and he's like, "Is your arm still hurting?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm dying." He's like, "Well, that's because you broke it right through, in 2 pieces. So every time you're rotating, kind of turn your palm up, every time you're doing that, you're breaking it again. I don't care that the cast is on." So they take the cast off and they put another cast to my shoulder. So now I have a cast from my shoulder down to my fingers. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to camp as a counselor to work for the summer. Well, that's not going to work for me. They actually cut a hole in my cast so my elbow would stick out. They put hinges on it like I'm a robot so I could bend it sort of inward, but I couldn't rotate. Well, as soon as I could bend it inward, I can pass a ball.
Sure.
I can canoe. I can do a whole bunch of stuff. Broken arm for about 4 months.
Jesus Christ.
Because anything that's ever happened has happened. I've had 19
So did you come in here
surgeries.
today planning to just tell us all the calamities that have happened in your life?
No,
or
because
has
I'm
something
actually
new happened?
I'm hoping that you maybe write a couple down because there are good stories that go along with it.
Yeah.
The separating my shoulder in the falling off a treadmill, for those who don't know, happened at the rink while the Sens doctor in the middle of the 04-05 lockout was looking at me because I was having major back problems. Players were locked out. They were still working. They were lucky. I was lucky enough for them to look after me. I went in and they're like, just go warm up in the gym as they're looking after John Muckler at the time.
Right.
And I went into the gym and fell off the treadmill, like in the commercial where it shoots you in the back.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, that would have been really embarrassing if it was in front of someone and I get up and my arm's like hanging off.
Ugh.
I'm like, oh, that's not good. And then the pain comes and then, but I did that like in the rink and they're looking after me. And it's just, I got so many stories, but I thought I was all prepared to go on this trip.
Right.
Because in the last 2 or 3 months, unfortunately, I've had another root canal. I've probably had 6 or 7 root canals in my life. But they become a little bit more difficult as the finer, I don't want to get into all like what people who've had root canals, they know they're either simple or they're really hard.
Right.
And mine are never simple. Like never, ever, ever. So I had one in September. It took a while to heal. They had to put me out. Oh, see, you're right. I should open my crop top too. That's the beard, not the shirt that I'm wearing. So we'll talk about that in a second.
Yes.
But I'm going in for another one. I just had one in September. Got the crown put on. Didn't know whether I had insurance because I was not working.
Yes.
Had a bunch of stuff. Had $6,000 worth of work done. But at least I'm done, right? At least it's all over with.
Yeah.
Until a couple days ago when I was having more pain in the same tooth I had the surgery on previously in September, and I'm like, this can't be right. It just can't be. And when I got to the dentist, I called them and they're like, come right in. It wasn't the tooth that I thought it was. It was the one beside it.
Oh.
And I get to have another root canal surgery coming up here tomorrow.
Right.
With a 24-hour recovery period and being put out again and just what I need before I am supposed to step on a plane on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Like just what I'm hoping for. Man, this is perfect timing.
I may have told this story before on the show. I went with my dad drove me to the dentist there on Friday afternoon at one point, and I was probably 12. And normally it was Mom who did the running around with the kids right to the doctor's appointments and stuff like this. I don't know what was going on, but Dad took me. It was all fine. And they come out and they tell my dad, I don't even remember what the issue was, but that I need a root canal. And they said, if you want, we can just do it right now. Like we can just get it over with. And Dad's like, all right. Now I'm sure he wasn't happy because he was already missing a full afternoon of work and now he was going to be sitting there longer while they did this. But so they go through it and they didn't put me right out, but they definitely numbed the shit out of you or whatever. Mine must have been one of the simple ones. I don't know almost anything about root canals, right? But I know I wasn't put
Well,
under.
if you were 12, it was a long time ago, and technology has come a long way in how they handle these type of things.
True enough, yeah. So I know I wasn't put right out, but I don't remember being in like a ton of pain or anything. It would have been numbed and whatever else. So they finish up, and Dad's late to get back to work. So he drives me home, doesn't come in, just kicks me out. And, tell your mother what happened. Here's the prescription, whatever, for a painkiller or whatever. I go in the house, and she's in the middle of doing something, and she's like, why are you so late? Like, what took so long? I said, I don't know. There was something wrong. I had a root canal. She's like, you didn't have a root canal, because she thinks of them like you did, right? Like most people do, that they're more serious than that, right? Yeah. They don't just do it while you're there for your checkup and your cleaning and whatever. But
mine's going to take 3 hours.
Right. I don't remember again how long mine took.
So not a lot of dentists just go, oh, I got 3 hours on my hands while you're here.
Yeah, exactly. Free time on my schedule. And I'm like, no, I did. I had a root canal. And she's like, I'm telling you, you were going in for a cleaning. They didn't give you a root canal. And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, maybe they didn't. Like, what the hell do I know?
You don't know anything.
That's the term that they told me. Maybe I am misremembering it, right? Like, maybe I'm screwing it up or whatever. And so she's like, go do whatever you're doing. So I'm down in my room and my face hurts. Like, I'm in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And I go back out and I'm talking to my mom, and for whatever reason, she's just not having it. That you didn't have a root canal just out of nowhere on a Friday. So my dad gets home like 3-4 hours later, and he's like, how's the boy doing? And she's like, he keeps saying he had a root canal. My dad's like, he did. She's like, oh my God.
You think your dad would have called your mom?
Maybe.
To go, hey, the kid had a root canal.
He's probably going to be looking for a T3 or something, right?
Unbelievable.
So I'm sitting down in my room just like, oh my God, my face hurts so much. The numbings, of course, all coming out while you're sitting there.
Yeah.
So good times, man. They're fun.
Just fantastic.
Yeah.
You can't get enough. But anyways, off on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And fly into Rome.
Nice.
For a pretty good price. Under $600 to fly into Rome.
Nice.
With a quick stop.
It's like twice that to fly to Edmonton.
I know. Quick stop in Toronto. Ottawa, Toronto, Rome.
Yeah, so, you love that trip, that route.
Yeah, it's a lot better than I don't know.
Just the backtrack to start every trip you go on from here is rough, right? As someone who grew up in Toronto.
Yeah, it is. But at the same time, I'd rather transfer there if you gave me a choice, because you don't have to clear customs when you go international until you actually get there. So I actually will not, if I'm going to the States, I will not come back through Toronto. I won't do it.
Right.
Because
it stinks.
Because having to get off the plane or even go when you're leaving and you go Ottawa to Toronto and then you got to recheck in everywhere. It's just terrible. So, but going on this trip, I don't have to do any of that. When I get to Toronto, I just saddle up to a bar and wait for my flight to Rome, and that's it. So
have a sip of something and renumb your face.
Yeah, it sounds like a good. I'm kind of joking, but kind of not. Of what the medication and a couple of beers, and hopefully
put you right out, man.
Hopefully the flight's very short, but we'll see. Anyway, it should be good. It's well needed for me to get out,
right?
And we'll do, and I will be checking in from
we'll do some of these remotely
wherever I am, and it'll be fun.
Lee can let us know what's going on in the Sicilian Hockey League or whatever over there.
As long as it's not soccer, dude.
Right.
Just check in on me with whatever. They're like, oh, you got to go to a soccer. You got to. I'm like, I'm not going to a soccer game. I'm not doing it. Okay. It just wouldn't get, for the money and the time and everything else, I wouldn't get what other people get out of it. And I totally understand.
Might do it. I'm not a soccer guy at all. Right, like at all. During the Olympics or like the World Cup, you'll get me to watch the Canada games or, things like that. But I think if I was in England or France or something, just for the experience as a sports guy, you could probably talk me into it for an afternoon. You couldn't get me to travel specifically to do it, right? But if I was in London already and I had an afternoon or whatever, that might be what I look to fill it with.
Well, I doubt I'm going to be that guy.
Right. We should talk about the pints we just cracked into here.
Crop top.
This is Crop Top from the Black Bellows Brewing Company. Well, Black Bellows.
Black Bellows.
In Collingwood.
Okay. Spent a lot of time in Collingwood as a kid.
Right.
Had a cottage in Wasaga Beach.
Nice.
And also had...
look at this fucking guy.
Yeah, it was just so ritzy. Our dingy little...
Wasaga Beach, pretty nice, man.
Yeah, in the 80s, I'm not sure it was quite what it is now.
Okay.
But sure.
That's fair.
I can tell you it wasn't.
Right.
But it was just where we went. And then a little bit more ritzy was Collingwood.
Right.
And long story, but sort of family had a place up on top of Blue Mountain. Mm. Like, the place is up on top, which was super cool to go to when I was afforded the opportunity to do that.
Right.
So, yeah, I love Collingwood and Thornberry's around there. And
yep.
So what are we drinking here?
This is the Crop Top Saison, 4.8%.
Okay.
And I thought it was interesting. It says here it has a little bubblegum flavor to it. But I don't think I'm getting any of that. Are you? Like, that's not coming through for me. And if it is, it's not coming through strong. Like, it's certainly not a bad beer. But I don't think I'm getting anything that even closely resembles the bubblegum.
Okay, so if you didn't tell me, and you just said, what does it taste like?
Right.
Bubblegum would not be, hey, this tastes like bubblegum.
Right.
So I wouldn't get that. Now, I do get on the back end of it a little bit of sweetness that now that you've told me it's bubblegum, I probably
You could kind of go, yeah.
I can wrap my head around it
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah. And it's not like in big letters. It's not the predominant flavor they're going for. It says it with traces of or hints of or whatever. I forget what was. But of bubblegum. And you're kind of like, all right, well, let's see what that's all about. And I'm just not really getting it.
So a lot of beers that...
I should also mention I've been just a little bit under the weather, so maybe my taste buds aren't up to snuff here today.
I don't know why you said today. So...
Okay. Yeah.
Just a veiled shot. It's fine.
Throwing an elbow on the way by.
I wasn't even looking at you. It was literally like an elbow on the way by.
Yeah.
I know you're there, but I'm not looking at you. I think most of the beers that you and I have had a chance at least to sample together, a lot of them have been like taste forward.
Yeah. Boom. Here it is.
Maple or pink guava salt and Himalayan salt and guava or whatever. Like we had the winter ales.
Yep.
There's been a lot of, I would call it flavor forward, where as soon as you drink it, the first half of it is like, wow, bam. This one to me is almost the opposite.
It's subtle. Subtle.
At first, it kind of just tastes like a beer.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, it does get into a little bit of sweetness. Again, I wouldn't kind of call it bubblegum on first chance, but I do understand that there is a little bit of sweetness. So this is cool for me because it's a different type of beer. I don't usually drink ones that are...
subtle.
Yeah. Well, I'm not subtle.
Right. No. We know this. I should say, just before we move into a couple things, had like 17 notifications late Wednesday night or Thursday morning of last week from people who I guess caught AEW Dynamite. And I want to warn the good listener, let the good listener know this isn't about to become a giant wrestling topic. But I...
Says you. Half of this show. Now, you're lucky. I can tell you. You're very fortunate that... Look, we are recording this on Wednesday. You make no bones about that.
Yeah.
And when this is released, we will already have had, formerly known as Edge, but the Rated R superstar Adam Copeland, fighting Christian Cage in Montreal in the main event of Dynamite.
Is that why we're recording early today? Are you getting on the highway and headed to Montreal?
I was asked to go.
Yeah.
And not only because they taped Collision and
Tuesday
Ring of Honor last night.
Yeah.
Not a great crowd.
Right.
Which really is disappointing. But I had a friend that was front row and sent me...
Bell Center?
At the Bell Center.
Yeah.
And sent me a whole bunch of like pictures and results, and it looked amazing, but not a great crowd.
Right.
But tonight...
Wednesday night.
Edge and Christian. Sorry. Last night. I'm looking forward to talking about it in the future.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Last week.
What are your notifications?
One of the favorite clips that we use on this show all the time is Christian hitting Adam Copeland.
I know what's coming, and I was going to do this myself. Thank you, good listener.
Christian, and we've used this basically since we started the Versage sessions.
Go fuck yourself.
And to finish setting up the match last week, apparently Adam Copeland had a word or two for Christian to get things set.
By the way, I almost forgot. Go fuck yourself.
And so I don't know if we need the whole thing moving forward, but I have saved and kept, just to change things up now and then.
Go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself.
So we have both now, a matching set, and wrestling is getting a little blue.
It's amazing. Yeah. So when I was back at the station, there's that clip. Oh, what do they say now? And we had like Tim Stützle do it and Claude Giroux, and there's 3 or 4 different versions of them saying the same thing, kind of like this.
Right.
So I like it. We're going to start a collection.
Yeah. We'll have a whole row here of hot buttons that are just different people telling each other to go fuck themselves.
So
it's not your old Doink the Clown wrestling show that it's amazing. That it used to be.
It's amazing. So, and I can't believe I didn't send that to you the moment I saw it. Like,
don't worry, lots of other people did.
You see? And lots of other smart people around
here.
Right. Which I like.
The big story of the week, and this is risky chatter on the podcast because of the delay between the time we record and the time we release it. It's the Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes down in Nashville and in Anaheim, apparently in Dunedin for a day. And as we sit here right now, there is no announcement. It's possible that it comes today, but most people are saying before the end of the weekend, he'll let whatever team it's going to be know. And we know that the Dodgers have been the favorites all along. The Blue Jays are clearly still in the mix. In fact, there are a couple of reporters saying kind of right there neck and neck with the Dodgers, and then apparently the Giants and the Angels still in the mix as well. Now, he's been pretty quiet about it. It's possible there are other teams, but that's the common sense seems to be, or the common belief that those are the teams that are in the mix right now. I'm just curious, where are you at with this Blue Jays front office right now on this? Because they're trying to make something huge happen here. And there's a bunch of reasons to do that. First of all, the fan base, pretty irritated after a year.
They hate you.
Right. There is that.
Yeah.
And they're currently undergoing renovations to put in these new premium club seats and everything else that's going to go on. By all accounts, they're asking people who might be interested in buying them for a 5-year commitment at tens of thousands of dollars. So you need to excite the fan base if you're going to get people to do that. And Shohei Ohtani, worldwide, internationally speaking, one of the most well-known, well-recognized athletic superstars in the world. You would get people's attention in Toronto.
And just for a little bit of context, when the Bell Club opened in the CTC, they asked for 3-year commitments from people.
Yeah, it's kind of, when the Jets came back to Winnipeg, you couldn't just buy a season ticket. You had to buy a 5-year season ticket. So this isn't unheard of, but it's a rough time to be asking people for that commitment given the kind of mood around the market and the fan base.
Yeah, they hate you.
Yeah. Are you surprised that they're as in it as they appear to be? Are you buying that they're as in it, or do you still think, not you specific, there are people out there who believe all along this has been about leverage, trying to drive the price up? Like, where are you at with this right now?
Well, baseball does not have a salary cap when it comes to. I know that there are financial restrictions in place, but it's not a hard salary cap.
Yeah, once you get to this number, you pay a tax. Once you pay this number, you pay a higher tax. Like, and it sure looks like the Blue Jays are getting ready to blow through that number if we believe what we're reading.
Right. So I think here's how and I'm a little bit jaded. I am just sitting here going, well, the company that owns the Blue Jays, can you tell me like who that is and what their
they are
profits and
Rogers and they sell phones for a lot of money.
Right. Can you tell me what their earnings are?
No. It's a lot.
Okay. Well, here's what I can tell you. That in revenue in 2022, Rogers had $15.3 billion in revenue.
It's pretty good.
The shares share at $58 a share
Right.
for Rogers. I'm not a mathematician. That's like the Steve Bunda rule, or people that are way smarter than me. But you're going to have to tell me of a team that's owned by a company that had over $15 billion in revenue last year, and that number is not going down?
No.
It's going up. Can you tell me why they wouldn't be front and center in this?
Yeah, they can afford it. It's if they want to afford it.
But that's the whole thing, and it really bothers me. And I know we have two entities, and I worked for one of them for a very long time. All of those people, and look, in business in general, but we have two conglomerates that run this country when it comes to media.
Yep.
Correct?
Yeah.
All they care about is when they go to their shareholders and they ask their shareholders, are you happy? Are you making money? That's all they care about, right?
Yeah.
So, again, you're going to have to explain to me why they're not in the running with a sport that doesn't have a hard salary cap, and they're one of the richest teams in baseball. And please don't mistake that to be they are the richest, or they have TV deals like the Yankees do, or like the Yankees print money. But
well, their owner is the richest, right? They'll try and tell you that the team is run as its own separate entity. We know that's only, but we have seen the ownership steadily over the last couple of years increase payroll. They have been legit for that, and there is money to be made. There are people who will tell you that even at $550 million US,
yeah,
as an investment in Shohei Ohtani, you're probably going to make most of it back.
Probably.
In suites, in ticket sales, in being able to make TV deals in Japan to broadcast Blue Jays games that suddenly are going to matter. A Rogers and like you own the TV network, so your ratings go up. Like everything that Rogers can get out of this to have this global superstar, this global brand suddenly attached.
It's pennies on the dollar.
It's not, well.
To bring him in to what you're going to make?
Yeah.
To all the things that you just said?
Yeah.
It's pennies on the dollar. So where do I stand? I stand on, does this make them a better team?
Obviously. You're bringing in perhaps the best player in the game.
Okay.
Maybe the greatest player ever.
But does it? Are you getting rid of? Like, what is your
that's
internal
the whole
budget?
I can't
are
imagine.
You getting rid of other people.
This contract, I would be certain, will have opt-outs in it that were under the player's control.
Yeah.
And if you trade for him and then suddenly turf 2 or 3 of your best players to afford him,
yeah,
his first opt-out, he's gone. Yeah. Right? Like, he is looking for a city that he's comfortable in, a place he can, apparently, like by all accounts, he's fanatical about his training and his body. So you have this campus, this whatever you want to complex in Dunedin, and this freshly redone thing under the dome that's about to be just about the same quality. He gets to pitch indoors if he wants to. Like, all of these things are meant to bring him in and make him a part of a winner, make him comfortable, and make him pretty wealthy. Those are the three pillars.
$550 million.
That seems to be what a lot of people went into this weekend or this week thinking. Right. It could drift up, I'm sure, if the bidding gets hurt.
So let's even say it drifts up to 600.
Yeah.
$600 million.
Yeah. For 12 years, probably 10, 12 years.
For Ohtani coming in to Canada, that's almost $1 billion.
It is. $600 million, about $880 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a spicy meatball.
Like, that's a lot of money.
Yep.
And you would own this country when it came to baseball. You'd own it. There wouldn't be, like, I'm trying to think of another comparable, and the other comparable that I can think of is not in baseball. It's Kawhi Leonard.
Yep.
When Kawhi Leonard came to the Raptors.
And let's be real, Shohei to baseball is greater than what Kawhi was. But you're right.
No question.
The one NBA team in Canada brings in a superstar who takes you to a championship.
Yeah.
That's the model here. That's what you're hoping plays out.
Right. And when Kawhi Leonard came, you didn't know that they were going to win the championship, but he owned this country when he was here. He could have done anything he wanted at any time. And as you said, Ohtani is much bigger in the sphere of worldwide recognition, not only in baseball. He's one of the most recognizable athletes in the world,
Right.
period. And this is a no-doubter. I would be offering so much money because I honestly, as long as he stayed somewhat healthy, you're getting all of the money back. And I don't even.
So that's the interesting part.
I don't even like the company.
For 2000,
I don't want them.
Nobody does.
I don't want them. I don't want any big conglomerate to be doing things.
Except in this case, the conglomerate's the one that has that money that can bring me what I want. So go get it done, Rogers.
Yeah, but
So-
when you don't get it done because you didn't offer another $100 million, it makes me dislike you more.
Well, so that's going to be the issue here, isn't it? I think when you and I sat here after the season and looked forward and said, there's going to have to be a big offseason here. You're going to have to re-excite the fan base somehow, right? You're going to have to do some things. I don't think either one of us thought that the Jays would ever be legitimately in on Shohei.
Right.
Not because they weren't interested. I have no idea when they decided they would be prepared to, but he wasn't going to be interested.
Oh, he'd
and
have
now,
the Dodgers and the Yankees.
right.
And
And now, by all accounts, he is interested. And if for no other reason, we know he's interested because he's not flying from Anaheim to Dunedin and back to look at your gym just to put up this facade of being interested, right? Like there's other ways to do it. We know he's at least considering it.
Yep.
Are we now at a point, even though we knew coming into this offseason, we're probably not in on Shohei, that the excitement has gotten so great that if you don't get him, anything else they do this offseason is a disappointment and a letdown? What's the fan base going to react like if the thing we always thought was going to happen, he goes to the Dodgers, is what happens?
Right. So I'm not going to be as disappointed as others, as you said. If you don't get Ohtani, then it's over.
Right.
But I still maintain from the day that we looked back on the season and listened to that
Mealy mouth press conference.
insanely arrogant and disrespectful to the fans presser that they had.
Yeah.
If you don't do something to change that, you don't have my business or my care level.
Yeah, they
Now-
have to do something.
Right. So I'm still, because I have this sort of, you know me, I'm very positive, this beacon of hope and light. I still,
In between your many calamitous injuries.
Common sense tells us that the ownership knows they have failed in the last 2 or 3 years getting to the next level.
Yep.
They insulted the fans after the season. And if they don't do something to turn it around, not only are their jobs on the line, but the next, like where they would go next is on the line.
Right.
Like their futures are
Their
on,
reputations,
on the
their
line.
resumes.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would hope that, look, I would like Ohtani as long as you're not giving up 2 or 3 other people to go get
Yeah,
him.
it's pointless if it means you're trading away Gosman, Bichette, and Vladdy or
If
something.
you do all
like,
that
fuck
to
it.
bring him in,
Yeah.
like what
was the point?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
We're the
you
Angels.
have the guy, but yeah, now you're just the Angels without Trout.
Right. You're the Angels without Trout. You're just going to lose, and it's,
Right.
And then he'll get hurt in the middle of the year, and
That is one interesting part of this, too, is he's only going to hit in 2024.
Yeah.
And then apparently he's hoping to go back to pitching in 2020. And for $550 million, $600 million,
Don't care.
Well, he has to pitch. He has to pitch. He has to be a two-way guy, right? That's what you're paying for. Here's a $30 million, $35 million a year hitter and a $30 million a year pitcher. Now, this is his second. There's risk here, right? This is his second elbow surgery.
So I wouldn't say have to. I don't believe that.
It's a lot of money for a DH.
I don't care. I'm not only paying for the DH and the player, I'm paying for, well, the recognition that you're going to get worldwide that will take the team to another level.
Yeah.
You're going to get other guys that want to come in to play
with Shohei.
with him
that
because
you can't afford anymore.
but they want to play with that guy. They want to be around him.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't pitch for 1 year,
Oh yeah, if it's just only that's fine. We know that going in.
He's only 29.
Yeah,
like he's not.
But he has to go back and he has to pitch in 25.
Oh, okay, in 25. I thought you meant like next year.
No. That like you know that going in. This is what you're signing up for. He can't pitch next year coming off this elbow surgery.
No, he can't.
That's fine.
Yeah,
but this can't become a permanent thing that he's like, well, I'm good now to just hit like to make this investment worthwhile.
He wants to. Like I don't know him obviously, but I see no signs that he wants to get away from that. I think he loves it.
Yeah.
I think he wants to be that guy. And so you better know that in this little free agency tour that he's having.
Right.
You better know the makeup of him because it's not just Ohtani picking you. You still have to understand the athlete.
100%, yeah.
And
there was a lot of mystery about when he was shut down this year, right? Like they didn't come right out and say it's Tommy John. They didn't come right out and say what surgery, what procedure he was going to go through. There was a lot of mystery here. Now I'm sure these teams that are about to bid, like you say, $550 million on this guy will have asked to have seen the medicals. Like we need to know what's happened. Mm-hmm. But there's been a lot of secrecy around that. And so I would imagine if you're still making these bids, you've seen it and you're comfortable with what's going to happen and how this is going to play out and that he'll be able to pitch again in 2025.
Yeah, the medicals mean something, but as long as he can make a full recovery, I want to know the drive. I want to know what he wants in the next 5 years to be. He obviously wants to win, but what does that look like for him? Because if it only involves hitting, then...
Yeah.
Okay, then now you have to decide whether the investment of what you're going to get with him, is he as big of a novelty if he's not pitching?
No.
And I think if he gets hurt again, things start to slide. You're in big trouble with a big contract that is not...
100%. There's risk here, for sure. There's risk here. And like if he's not ever going to pitch again, instead of spending $50 million, $55 million a year on Shohei... You spend $40 million on Soto, and it's a bargain, right? Like if you're just bringing in DH.
Yeah, but Soto's going to the Yankees.
It sure looks that way. That looked just before we started recording. It was being reported that is approaching done, which is a bummer.
It looks like,
and it's funny because I've seen that say that ramps up the pressure on the Blue Jays to get Shohei.
No, it doesn't.
Like they've done their thing. They have made their pitch. By all accounts, he's interested. It is totally up to him now. Like just because someone else around you, you want to stay competitive. You want to stay ahead of the Yankees. But you can't go to Shohei and say, hey, our big rival just did this. We need you to sign. Like, that doesn't change anything for Shohei, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
All he cares about is, like, what is your team doing?
I'm pissed off to see Soto is going to the Yankees, though. That bugs me.
Yeah, it looks like they're working on a trade right now.
Yes.
The Padres but... Hey, it's the Yankees. You expect Yankees, Dodgers.
It's going to be King and Thorpe, Michael King, Thorpe, and a couple other lesser known pieces.
But that's what they do, and
100%.
That's what you expect them to do. And you have to be smart enough and understand the market to counter, because they can only do so much. There's only 9 batters that come up.
Yep.
You can't. There's only so much you can do. So
and they were a disaster last year. The Yankees,
it was fun.
Yeah, of course it was. But
watching
they're not looking to do it again.
No, but I'm looking for them to do it again. But of course they don't want to do it again. They're in the same spot, right? Yeah. You can't have a disastrous year in New York and then roll back with, well, we had a couple minor changes. We think this guy will be a little bit better.
No, it doesn't fly.
You got to go and do something the same.
Yes.
So, okay, if they're not getting Ohtani,
which I love,
right? But if they're not getting Ohtani, then all right, well, let's go get Soto. Let's go get something that really matters. And I appreciate that, even though I hate the Yankees and I think that they have a bit of an unfair advantage over some of the teams in baseball. My issue is that the team that I cheer for, they actually don't have a financial, they're not much greater financially than the team I cheer for. The team I cheer for just doesn't spend it.
So
that bugs me.
Before we move off this, then, let me circle back around to Shapiro and to Atkins. Are you any if they go and get Shohei, obviously everyone thinks, what a coup. This changes the franchise forever, right? This is a victory, changes the sports landscape across Canada, across Major League Baseball, all of that stuff. If they miss, do they get any credit here? Because by all accounts, you and I both just said we did not expect the Blue Jays to get anywhere near this far. I expected they'd make a call, be told you're probably not on his radar, and we'd move along with our offseason. They have got him to come see the complex. They have done his ridiculous bidding about standing out there in front of the media and pretending they haven't spoken to him, right? Keeping everything secret, making themselves look dumb doing it. We saw what happened to the Dodgers on Tuesday as Dave Roberts, their manager, came in and went, yeah, no, we spoke to him. He's our highest priority. And their PR people and GM had to come over and be like, yeah, don't do that, man. That's not what Shohei wants. It's a little ridiculous. Like all these things, the Jays have done it, and apparently they're going right to the finish line here on this process. If they miss, because it's now completely out of their hands and up to Ohtani, do you give them any credit here?
First of all, it's completely out of their hands. Like, they could have spent more, and Rogers didn't let them? Or... Like, what do you mean it's completely out of
I
their
don't
hands?
think they make it this far in what we're talking about if they're not right there with the Dodgers financially. Right? If they...
Okay. So, it's out of Atkins and
Let's say all
Shapiro's
things
hands.
are equal. They've made their bid. The Dodgers have made their bid. They're pretty close to
And they
equal.
lose.
And now it's just up to Ohtani's decision, and he chooses the Dodgers.
Right. I say good for you. I think that's awesome that you were able to get that far. That gives me hope.
Yeah.
But the only thing it does is give me hope as to what you're going to do next to fix it.
Right.
Like you good for you. You got that far. You should have been, like, if you have the resources, there is no reason why you shouldn't be where you are.
Well, other than the Canada factor. And maybe with Ohtani, that's not the same thing. He's already left his homeland. He's already left his culture. The U.S. is just as different as Canada, right? Whereas trying to convince some of these Americans to come up here is sometimes a
But what
tougher
I'm
sell.
saying is that you've done everything as you said that you can.
Yeah.
And you have the financial resources to be neck and neck with the Dodgers, so you should be there. Good.
Right.
Amazing. You didn't get him. He chose to go somewhere else. That's his decision. He, like every player, have the right to do anything that they want.
Yep.
I'm happy that you, or pleased that you have got that far with somebody that significant. But that doesn't change for me. Okay, you didn't get him. That's too bad. That really sucks. What are you going to do now?
Right.
And if you don't do something to vastly improve,
Yeah, you can't show up
this
to
team-
spring training saying, well, we got close on Ohtani.
right? So it doesn't really change my opinion. It's their job to do so. They insulted people. They've been, 3 years of, I don't know, what do you call it? Maple leafing? Like getting to the...
That's pretty rough, but yeah.
Okay, but getting to the place that you want to get to, or finishing one game back, or getting in the playoffs and being embarrassed.
Yes, that's maple leafing.
Yeah, having an 8-0 lead and losing 10-9? Or is that what it was to Seattle a couple...
It was 9-1 or
ago?
something like that. I can't remember. It was huge like that. I can't remember the exact score.
Okay.
But
Whatever-
it was 4-1.
Whatever it
right?
was,
Leafs
it was
Boston.
embarrassing.
Yeah.
It was 4-1 in Boston, as
Yes.
you said.
Yeah.
So I care about you.
This is fun for me.
Actually, I'm going to actually tell you something here in a second
Okay.
when we start talking hockey. I think you'll be like me, and I think understanding, but we'll get to it in a second.
All right.
You are the ones that created the team that almost got there but didn't get there. And you gave them multiple shots. And then you, as an organization, embarrassed yourself after the season was over and the way that it was handled with your manager and the philosophy of the organization.
100%.
And you're lying about
100%.
it. And you're not being honest with people. And you embarrassed yourself.
Yeah.
If you don't, the fact that people are giving you a chance to fix this, you should be very, very grateful for. So go and fix it. I still have a hope that there's smart enough people to understand what they did and what they thought was the right decision wasn't, and they're able to course correct. But this is your shot right now. Go get Ohtani. If you don't get him, go do something that's going to tell me as a fan that you understand what has happened to this team in the last 3 or 4 years. You got it close, and then you bleeped it up. Okay? That's what you did. So fix it, because this is your one shot to fix it. And if you don't fix it this year Whether you get Ohtani or you go out and get somebody else and you understand that you need to fix it with the fans and you need to fix it with your team just being better. If you don't get that and that doesn't happen, you're going to be gone on your ass anyway. And I'll be the one driving you to the goddamn airport if you don't fix it.
You'll be off to Italy with the lever.
So, no, I'm not bringing that.
Right next to you in the middle seat.
No.
You'll be in the middle seat between the two of them.
Well, that actually makes me very happy. Strap them in, and they're not allowed to get up and go to the bathroom. But they better fix it now. And I hope they get Ohtani. I really do. But if they don't, why people are even like me, if you ask me why I'm giving them another chance, I'm not sure.
Well,
I'm actually not sure. But
because they have been, like, to me, the one thing that I would say going away from this, whether they get Ohtani or not, and it's worth saying again, that while we're excited about it, and we should be excited about it, that we're apparently even in the mix and he's considering it, the Dodgers from day one have been known to be the favorites. So it's still more likely than not.
Right.
We're not getting him.
Yep.
But we have a shot at it. So to me, the one thing I would like to see fans walk away from this particular situation with, even if they don't get Ohtani, is the death of this narrative that the Blue Jays won't spend. They went out, and it was time to take a step forward, so they got Ryu. Then they went out and overspent to get Springer, who by all accounts was going to the Mets because he wanted to live close to Connecticut. They went out, they got Simeon, and they weren't able to keep him because he's like a vice president of the PA or whatever, and had to make sure he absolutely maximized what he was going to get, and that already isn't aging particularly well. Justin Verlander said the Jays were right there on him, and they were his second choice, but he had the chance to go back to Houston, and he wanted to do that. Like, they have been there on all. They got Gosman to come, paid more to get that done. Like, they are spending like a big market team. Mm-hmm. This spend on Ohtani will be bigger than anything that's ever happened in baseball, and by all accounts, they're prepared to do it. So we can talk about mismanagement. We can talk about a failure to communicate by the Ross bot whenever he gets out there in front of the press conferences, those sorts of things. But I think we have to get over the J.P. Ricciardi era Blue Jays complex that says Rogers is cheap, they won't spend. When Edward Rogers, I don't know, maybe he's just one of these crazy billionaires, when he took over, this team started to spend, and I don't like Edward Rogers very much, but I like how he's treating his baseball team right now. And so I would like to see, if nothing else, even if they don't get Ohtani, we're done saying they won't spend. They'll spend. They're spending. Maybe they could spend better. Maybe, there's other things to pick on, but they're spending money.
Yeah, it's do they have the right people in charge to use that money properly to get this team to the next level where they should be with some of the talent that they have.
But we have to be done with the thing that Rogers won't spend money on the team. Yeah. Rogers is spending money on the team.
I agree with that. Yeah. And they should be. Yeah. Because if they don't, I'd be mad. Right. But I'm not mad at that.
Right.
I'm mad at the mismanagement of what's happened. You get Ohtani, some of that fixes, but you need to figure out solutions for why your team has got to the same level and then trailed off year after year after year.
100%.
Speaking of which,
okay,
did you want to take a break or did you want to get into something else?
How's your beer?
I'm pretty good.
I got a little bit left. Why don't we get into a little bit of hot? We'll save the sends here until after the break.
Okay.
I did want to ask you if you... Go ahead. You hit me then, man. Go ahead.
I get to ask questions too. The Leafs have just said this afternoon...
Go fuck yourself.
Okay, you can have the Adam Copeland one and I'll have the Christian one. And so we'll know when you play it.
Who?
Yeah. When you play it, folks, if it's Adam Copeland Edge, it's Matt telling me. And when we play the Christian one, it's me telling Matt.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
That'll work.
That's a good deal.
Yeah.
Until there's a third person that says it, and then they're talking to both of us.
Yes, of course.
Or we're both talking to them. I'm not
right.
Sure. But the Leafs have just announced that John Klingberg is having hip surgery.
Okay.
And he is out for the rest of the year. And
I wish I had another button, something I could dance to.
Yeah, see? And this is what I was going to say. So I've always been like blasted everywhere that I've been and on the station and fans and other hosts that sometimes it's okay as long as somebody is not permanently injured.
Yeah, he's not been in a horrible car wreck or something.
But it's okay. Like, hey, if you told me that Jalen Hurts
Right.
banged up his knee and he's going to be out for 4 months.
Right.
And he's not going to play for the rest of the year. Woohoo!
I hope that guy makes a full recovery, and I'm going to love the hell out of his cap space, right? Like, it's sort of where I'm at here.
Yeah, no, but with Jalen Hurts, it's like, I'm a Cowboys guy. I don't need that guy playing.
No,
Like,
I understand. I'm talking John Klingberg.
Yeah,
right? Like,
and it's okay. This Maple Leaf fans all over the place are going to be doing a dance because they're already saying this afternoon, we're exploring trade routes to find another defenseman with his $4.5 million cap hit that is now on the shelf that they can use.
celebration.
Right?
Come on.
And that shouldn't be that you're cheering for one of your guys to get hurt.
No, he was already hurt. I'm cheering to have his cap space.
Okay.
He's not in my lineup anyway, so let me do something with his space.
And so that's what I'm saying. It's okay as long as John Klingberg or anybody else. I wish no ill will on, like, it actually bothered me when Durant got hurt and it looked like it was really serious and in the finals and against the Raptors. I don't like to see anybody that has their time taken away in a very short professional sports world.
Right.
But in saying that, it's the middle of December, the first week of December, and the football season goes 2 more months. If you told me that Jalen Hurts for the Philadelphia Eagles was going to be out 2 to 3 months and would make a full recovery and will be...
That would be good news for Cowboys fans.
Right.
Yeah.
And if I'm happy about that, I used to get blasted for people. You can't cheer for people to get hurt. And I'm like, I'm not cheering for him
I
to
didn't
get
sit
hurt.
down on Sunday and say, God, I hope someone takes him out at the knee.
But,
right?
but when news comes along, it's okay
I
for
get
me
to
to be
react
happy
to it.
Yeah, it's okay for me to be happy about it as long
What
as
does
he's
this
not
mean for my team?
seriously injured.
Yep.
Because nobody at the end of the year is going to say, well, the Cowboys won the Super Bowl for the first time in 30 years. Oh, but Jalen Hurts was hurt. I don't give a crap.
Right.
Do you give a crap that when the Raptors won, that Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant and all of those guys were out?
I do not.
No, the Raptors won a goddamn championship. It was incredible. So for John Klingberg, the fact that you'll get $4.5 million.
So the thing that a lot of Sens fans listening to this will be saying is that this is shenanigans. This is cap space. This is what the Leafs do.
Shenanigans?
Yeah. The Leafs love to send people off to Robidas Island to erase their mistakes. And
Love stuff on Robidas.
yeah. And I sort of understand the optics, but any even basic look at the Leafs LTIR situation tells a very different story. Last year when Matt Murray missed most of the season, at the time, he had like a .930 save percentage. He was playing well and had the number 1 job for Toronto. Mm-hmm. They didn't want that guy to disappear at that moment. Jake Muzzin, who is still on LTIR, say what you want about Morgan Riley, and I like Riley more than most people do. Muzzin was their best two-way defenseman. They did not want Jake Muzzin disappearing. Mm-hmm. Timothy Liljegren just getting ready to come off LTIR here in the next couple of weeks. They did not want that guy to disappear. And John Klingberg, regardless of what you think of him, I didn't like the signing, but once he was here, you're like, God, I hope it works, right? Because now he's our problem. And it didn't. And it didn't work in Anaheim, and it didn't work in Minnesota. So I sort of understand the idea that, they're making one of their worst problems disappear. But you might be able to twist the arm of Joffrey Lupul at the end of his career to go, just stay down, right? Like maybe you can do that to Stefan Robidas.
Yeah.
John Klingberg is not agreeing to have surgery.
Hip surgery.
Right. That will not just take him out for the rest of this year, but any chance he has it coming back next year is at like $850 or a PTO. He's going to have to, not only because of the poor play he showed at the beginning of the season, but now he's coming off hip surgery.
Well, and the poor play might have been because of the hip. I don't know. But
I'm sure it had something to do with it.
But
right?
regardless, as you said, you don't just come off hip surgery.
No.
We'll see what Patrick Kane's got left, but that's also one of the greatest talents in the world.
But we've seen Ed Jovanovski have that surgery and not make it back, played like 4 games when I can't do it. We saw Nicholas Backstrom have that surgery, come back, can't do it. Like, it's hard. So this isn't them telling Klingberg with a wink and a nod. How about you just go see what's happening over there in the Swedish Elite?
And I don't even think we need
This is legit.
I don't think we need to go down this road even further because it is legit and it's just that's what it is. The guy is going to be recovering 5 or 6 months, they're saying now, before he can even start skating again. Folks, I don't care what you think about some cap situation. Dude's career is hanging on by a thread.
Yeah. He didn't agree to this to do the Leafs a cap favor.
No, in the NHL, his professional future is hanging by a thread.
Yeah.
To think that he could come back and be productive after having hip surgery.
Right.
This is nothing. So, okay, so Klingberg's hurt. They're going to have hip surgery. Hopefully he's okay. And I mean that sincerely. Like
100%,
you don't
man.
wish a guy, even if you're a Leaf fan, you don't wish a guy's career is pretty much over.
But right now, we don't
get to save $4 million.
Yeah, we don't have John Klingberg and we don't have his cap space. Now, at least we have the cap space. I get to admit that that's a positive for the team. I get to say that.
You can be happy.
Right.
I hope Klingberg makes a full recovery, and I'd love to see a redemption story of him coming back.
That'd be great.
But for
Somewhere
Leaf
else.
fans, $4 million right now?
That can help.
Going out to get a D that actually can play for you?
Yes.
And like log some minutes and make your team better?
Yeah.
Well, they're already exploring all kinds of different...
The big name everyone talks about is Chris Tanev, right out of Calgary. We'll see. They've already moved on from Zadorov. Elliot Friedman reported on Saturday the Leafs tried to get both in a trade, but they couldn't make sense of what is the price of the retention on two players. Because the Leafs needed Calgary to eat half on both Chris Tanev and Nikita Zadorov, and they couldn't figure out what that was worth. Even beyond, okay, here's the trade for the actual players, here's 50% retention on two guys. That was tough to work out, whereas Vancouver said, we'll take Zadorov and we'll take his full contract.
Yeah.
Psh, easy peasy, off you go.
I didn't know this, but I just found your fake Twitter account.
I have several burners.
Yeah. So your burner,
Yes.
that is yes, the Leafs. It's at Leafs all day.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
That does sound like my account. Yeah.
11 minutes ago, I saw you on your phone.
Yeah.
Huge shout out to Klingberg, who volunteered to break his own hip so that we could use his LTIR money. He joins a growing list of Toronto Maple Leaf players who have purposely injured themselves so the Leafs can circumvent the cap.
Team guy. Good in the room.
I didn't realize.
The operating room.
I found your...
Yeah, that's me, man.
Found your burner. Yeah. So all of that other rhetoric and talk is stupid for the Leafs, who continue to show the heart and dedication. The best call in the world, I just can't get enough, is that Joe Bowen call at the end.
Bless you, boys.
No. 2002.
Yeah.
They're playing.
Okay.
You talk about heart and dedication and perseverance. And, this is unbelievable.
Into the slot. Cabaret doesn't shoot it. Now he does. Close puck in front down to Derby. Rebound. Score! They score! They score with 28.8 seconds left. The Leafs have tied the game. Don't tell me about heart and dedication and resilience. This is unbelievable.
When they tied the game with Carolina.
I've never been this proud in my entire life.
Yeah. And then,
Now, we used to use that clip in the opening.
and then Jeff O'Neill scored in overtime and
you
lost?
We lost.
Yeah.
But I thought it was somebody more like Nick Wallin or some nobody.
Oh, was
like
it
that.
Nick
Yeah,
Wallin?
I think so.
Who cares? It was a Carolina Hurricane that scored after you thought that this was the greatest moment
Miraculous
in the
comeback.
history.
Yeah. Now, we used to use that clip, and I'll drop it in
amazing.
here for the good listener. Just the way the radio sounds and the way he's pronounced it, instead of saying, I've never been this proud in my entire life, he sounds a little hammered, and it sounds like he's saying, I've never been this plowed in my entire life.
Oh, good.
And we used to use that clip all the time to open the show because it was perfect. But I've never been this plowed in my entire life.
So every time you don't think I have a story about something, how about me throwing Joe Bowen out of a minor hockey league game
oh, no.
when I was a referee and he was a coach?
Okay.
And
now, did you have one arm in a cast to
get
be
out?
able to hold it up in the air?
so this actually happened, and my favorite or least favorite part of this story. So Joe Bowen was everything. You knew who Joe Bowen was.
Yeah.
And he was being, quite frankly, an ass
Okay.
behind the bench.
Right.
of the minor hockey league team. Yeah. And as a young person who's like in his, I can't remember how old I was. I was a referee, kind of moved up the ranks pretty quick, doing some AAA games. And I can't remember how old I was, but teens.
Yeah.
You knew that was Joe Bowen. And the last thing in the world that you ever want to do, like, I'm intimidated. I admit there was a couple games.
This is a guy in the hockey world who people know. I'm a schlub teenage hockey
He calls the Leaf games that are on TV and on the radio. Like, everyone knows who he is. I was intimidated twice when I was a referee. One was Joe Bowen, and one was David Branch.
Yeah, that's fair.
Who was
president of the OHL.
Yeah, and coach of the Whitby whoever's. And oh my God, Dave Branch is
the Wildcats.
Dave Branch is behind the bench, and I got to ref this game. But he was being so bad. It was almost like
Bowen or Branch?
Yeah, Bowen. Okay. I can take advantage of anyone who's out there because they know who I am.
Right.
Finally, it got to a point where I just consulted with the other referees on the ice, and it's like we just can't let this go on. We get in trouble for it. But we got to remove him. So we removed him. Never talked to him, like he didn't know who I was or whatever. Right. So you get into the business, and one day I tell Dean Brown.
Oh.
And we're in the press box.
Mm-hmm. And the Leafs happen to be in town.
And the Leafs are in town.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh my God, Joe, he's the best. Yeah. Like, we got to tell him this story. It'll be so hilarious. So literally Dean drags me over, and I'm like, oh my God.
He's not going to find this hilarious.
I'm like, I'm going to die. I'm a young reporter, he does not know who I am. I'm trying to make it. And Dean's going to drag me over here. And this is what.
Strike one against someone in the business.
This is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so, but what am I going to do? Dean's on his way. And he's like, you're coming with me. We're having this discussion.
Right.
Okay. So we're in the press box by the popcorn. And Dean's like, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. And Joe Bowen looks right at me. He's like, that never happened.
Oh.
I'm like, what do I do here? Do I get into an argument with Joe Bowen in the press box?
Must have been someone else who looked just
in the press box?
Yeah.
Like, I know it happened. You know what I mean? Like, this is not I'm guessing whether it happened. I was there. It was a traumatic experience in my life. I remember so many details about it. But am I going to then, as a young reporter, am I going to get into no, Joe, I threw you out. Yeah. And then Dean's going to stand there, and now I'm going to have an argument. It's
going to be terrible with everybody.
There's going to be three people there.
Yeah.
A young reporter, and Dean Brown and Joe Bowen, two of the greatest announcers in the history of the National Hockey League. Yeah. And I'm going to get into an argument? And I forget what, but I did just sort of, I
must have mistook you for someone else then, Joe.
Mistaken, whatever. And I did go back and tell Dean that, Dean, I swear to you on my life, like, why would I tell you this story?
Right.
What would give me the impotence? Because I didn't think you're going to drag me over. Why would I tell you that, all these years ago, I threw Joe Bowen out of a minor hockey league game when he was the coach of the Markham Waxers? Like, why would I do that if it wasn't true? But Joe Bowen just said it wasn't true.
Didn't want to be a good sport about it. Didn't want to own up to it.
Apparently has said that in a number of occasions that it wasn't him and it wasn't this, but he had quite the temper as a minor hockey league. Not that other people didn't.
Yeah.
But, man, it was so traumatic for me to throw that guy out. So I stopped throwing people. That was one of the reasons why I stopped throwing people out. I didn't throw people. I got to tell you this story, though, real quick, because the best thing I ever did in refereeing was... And I had some weird crap happen to me. It's just brutal. I'm sure it still happens today. I had somebody, a parent, wait outside the room with a skate.
Oh my God.
In their hand. And,
Happy Gilmore? The only guy who ever take off a skate and try to stab someone.
But the game got after the second period, they were flooding and the game got canceled and the cops came and
good Lord.
Yeah. And I was very fortunate that the whole head of the league was there that night. So it was like, just stay in the room. Just don't come out of the room with me and the other.
Traumatic experiences, man.
With me and the other guys. But so I stopped throwing coaches out of the game. Because you know what I do? I don't know if this is an ass thing to do or not. Maybe you can tell me.
Mm-hmm. I'll be happy to.
You usually are.
Yeah.
I started giving bench minors, and no matter what a coach would do, unless it was so bad but you could do almost anything to me and my refereeing crew, no problem.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
And when the parents are sitting in the crowd, they're so mad at you, right? But at some point, when their team is playing 3-on-5,
yeah, the anger turns
for
to
the
coach.
entire game, and their son,
it doesn't kill,
or daughter is not playing,
yep.
and you keep getting scored on, and you keep getting 2-minute penalties because you keep yelling at kids that are refereeing on the ice. Some of the parents are like, "Hey, coach, why don't you shut the bleep up?" Instead of, and the parents would get mad at the coach. They would turn their anger from, they would get mad at the referees initially. But all I would say to them is, just be quiet. Stop yelling and stop trying to make us look like an ass, and I will stop giving you bench minor penalties. It's a deal. But if you can't shut up, unfortunately, your kids are going to pay for it, and your parents are going to pay for it. And if you want to be that guy, go right ahead. Keep going. And sometimes you had to make an example. I remember one team gave up 4 goals, 5 goals, because they were 3-on-5 for a whole period. It's like, all right, well, you're not going to get it. Is that a good move?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because at that point, a coach gets thrown out of a game. He's pissed. He can yell a little bit. He goes back and he carries on with it. No, now you're punishing the team.
Right.
Now your continued belligerence, yelling at teenagers, reffing these games, is screwing over little Jimmy and
I hated
Johnny
screwing over little Jimmy or Johnny myself.
Yeah.
But it wasn't
the coach can stop it at any time.
Right. That was my point.
Yeah.
The coach could stop it. I also got a Cracker Jack box thrown at me one time.
Any waffles?
No, a Cracker Jack box, though, was so funny to me. I wasn't mad at all. They threw the Cracker Jack box, and it gets halfway across the rink, and I go and pick it up. And I bring it back. Because that was a pretty good, I want to talk to the coaches and see why you're so angry. And so I bring it back, and they ask me if I got my referee's credentials
In a
Cracker Jack box. I started laughing. I'm like, that's actually really funny. I'm going to have to kick you out because you brought the Cracker Jack box to the bench.
You brought props.
You brought this, and the first bad call or something that you were going to do this.
Yeah.
So that's why
This was premeditated.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to throw you out. But I actually think it's hilarious.
Yeah. We'll laugh together after the game.
Right. It's really,
Your night is done.
It's really funny.
Yeah.
But because you brought this on purpose before any bad calls were made.
Yeah.
You didn't just have a Cracker Jack box full, unopened, ask me to open it, and that's where I got my license. Come on. That's
You didn't happen to just have
premeditation
this
is going to get you kicked out, but it was really funny.
That's a lot of talk about
Klingberg.
potential bad calls. A good call right now would be to grab another beer.
Yes.
So let's do that.
Let's go.
Bless you, boys! Unbelievable! I don't think I've ever been as proud in my entire life.
All right, let's get back into her here. And with a new beer each, I'm going back to my craft beer advent calendar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it is the 6th today. Yes.
What a life when you don't know what day it is.
Honest to God, and it says December 6th right here on the can. So this is from the Vimy Brewing Company.
Okay.
This is their Northeast IPA, which I love. But I said to Rob on Sunday when he was in here, and that would have been December 3rd.
Okay.
And we had something from Whippersnapper. Mm-hmm. And I kind of said, I like Whippersnapper beers, just like I like Vimy beers. But one of the great things about the calendar is it produces some new stuff to talk about for the podcast. Unless every recording day falls on days from breweries that you've already recently had. I've had Vimy on the show probably 6-8 times since September because I had put in a big order from there, saved some stuff around there. Whippersnapper I had made an order from, plus our buddy Ian from the brewery's been in here a couple times. And so while I enjoy those beers, you sort of wish they would fall in between shows just to keep it fresh for the listener, right? And so here we are today, December 6th. It lands on Vimy Brewing Company, who I've talked about a bunch of times. I like their stuff. In fact, not just this brewery, this beer I've recently drank on the podcast. Like I said, it's their Northeast IPA. It is a fantastic beer. coming in at 6.0%. And I can tell the good listener that you're about to lean into the same thing as you went through the fridge, that we got a little repeat happening. But sometimes when the stuff's that good, what are you going to do, right? You got to keep drinking it.
As you said, so I'm headed off to try a whole bunch of new beers and drinks and all kinds of things in the next couple of months.
Yeah.
But this is one of the favorite that I've had since I've started coming here.
Mm-hmm.
And I always try and bring you. I had a couple. You kind of told me, lay off. Don't bring any.
Well, because I knew I had the calendar one. And
I know.
Yeah.
I listened to you, which I shouldn't have done. Well, but I had a couple that I don't think I'm going to be able to
get through before you leave?
No, I don't think I'm going to be able to keep until I get home to bring them in. So
that's all right, man.
But there's a couple from Kitchissippi before I get into this.
Yeah.
So there's a carrot cake spiced brown ale.
Oh, wow.
And a chocolate raspberry sweet stout.
Oh, my goodness.
Next time you think about not telling me not to bring something, don't.
Okay. Yeah. Rookie mistake.
I was trying to listen to you and be respectful.
I appreciate that, honestly.
Anyway.
And
I should have brought them
anyway. I didn't count on you listening.
So. I know, but I should have just brought them.
So what do you got today?
But they're very interesting. Going back to one of the favorite ones, a Maple Cabin Maple Ale from OBC.
Great beer.
I expect it to hit me in the face again.
Yes.
With the maple. I'm looking forward to it.
I wanted to,
and it did.
It did. It's an awesome beer. So I wanted to ask you quickly. We used the clip just before we started the show, coming in with the music. If you had seen John Tortorella's press conference from Saturday, talking about balls.
Yep.
Yeah. He was asked, what it is. Is it just, sticking with the plan or whatever that allows you with the Philadelphia Flyers to get through some of these games and overperform, which they have done. The Flyers have been better than I think people expected this year. And here's what he had to say, the full quote.
No, we win the game because we got balls. Yeah. We do. We do stupid stuff. We don't make some plays sometimes. Lose sight of certain momentums in the games. A number of things we have to work on and try to get consistent at. But one thing we do have is balls.
It's fairly backhanded. We stink at just about everything else, but we got balls. Actually, I think my favorite part of that clip, if you really listen, is the reporter agreeing with him. Like, we got balls. Yeah.
No, we win the game because we got balls.
Yeah.
And then Torts is so casual. Yeah, we do.
No, we win the game because we got balls. Yeah. We do.
It's such a weird fucking thing to...
I know, but I think if you're a reporter, sometimes you're almost saying so that he finishes up a thought so you can get to something else.
It's a weird thing to
it's like,
nod along to. I agree, you got balls.
I know, but you're in a scrum and you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. This is you, Torts being you, but I got something else to get to.
Yeah.
That kind of what it feels like to me. It's not like the guy's like, you guys have balls. Yeah. I don't think that's happening.
No, we win the game because we got balls. Yeah.
No, but look, Torts is a fantastic quote, and he made a lot of, because he likes to be in the spotlight sometimes, even when he says that he doesn't, he does. But, But I do listen to, I can't believe I'm going to say something nice about this person. Todd White, who I know very well, I would consider a friend of mine, said it's the greatest coach he's ever played for. Played for a lot of coaches. Like,
there's a lot of guys who feel that way. There's not many guys who are indifferent to Torts.
Yeah, but
they love him or they hate him.
But when you ask him why, the answers are very simple. Because you always know where you stand.
Yeah.
And when you play well, you get rewarded. And when you don't, whether you think it's harsh or not, you know where you stand and you know you need to get better.
Right.
And there are people that appreciate that about, I know exactly where I stand.
Yep.
And if I'm not playing well enough, I'm going to hear about it, but I'll know it from actions. And then I'll know through actions if I'm playing well because I'll get more ice time.
Right.
That's how he coaches. But I think when you hear that in media speak, that's actually quite a compliment to his team.
To me, it's tragically old school. Like, instead of just saying our penalty kill needs some work, was well, just try harder, God damn it. We got bigger balls than them. Good for you.
No, but see, I don't look at it that way at all. If I'm a player for Torts, I'm thinking after hearing that, well, he's right. We don't do a lot of things well. We do screw up in some different areas, and we need to work on those areas. But if he believes that we have guts and like we're going to, when it matters the most, we're going to be there because we care.
Right.
That makes me care more. That the coach believes it, that makes me care more. And I know we need to work on it. It's not insulting to say that we do stupid things, and because every team's not perfect and every team's got things to work on, and you have to have.
It just starts so nice, right? It's a compliment, and then here's 1,000 things I don't like, and then wrap up with that same compliment.
Yeah.
Like, he ends it with
One thing we do have is balls.
You're like, good for you, man.
It's a crappy sandwich.
Yeah, it's a crappy sandwich.
Right? But on the crappy sandwich, you have the good and then a whole bunch of bad and then the good again. If you like the bread, if you ever go down to a Sherwood Deli.
Do you think maybe he's just looked through their phones? Is that,
have you ever been to Sherwood Deli? The one down at Sherwood and Carling?
Just blowing by that, eh? All right.
Yeah, I am. Sometimes people do that with me all the time. They just blow by stuff, and you do it all the time. So I do it to you.
Yeah.
So if you go and get a sandwich from there, almost every sandwich is great.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a couple that I've tried that that's not the best. But you know why I continue to go back? Because their staples are incredible, but they use egg bread. Okay. So they're the only place that makes sandwiches that I know of that uses fresh egg bread every day. And no matter what's in the middle of that crappy sandwich one day or another where I decide to get corned beef and it's not good, you know what's good? The egg bread. The beginning and the end. Good for John Tortorella.
Torts and his balls.
Yeah. I like it.
This wasn't on the agenda. I don't even know if you looked at the agenda this week. It was pretty bare, to be honest with you. But last night...
When are you getting to Jacques?
Yeah. You know what? Hiring a senior advisor to the coaching staff and hosting a press conference about it is a little over the top. We'll get to it in the order of which it's relevant. I want to ask you...
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you going to get to something more relevant 90
I am. I'm
going to
ask you about the Columbus Blue Jackets here for a second. And I just wonder what you think of the job that Pascal Vincent is doing. And neither one of us is watching a ton of Columbus Blue Jackets.
I actually watch more than I think because Todd White, who I just mentioned, is a scout.
Okay. On Tuesday night... David Juracek.
I watched them so I can point bad things out, but regardless.
Kent Johnston and Adam Fantilli all played under 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Just in a general sense, do you have a good... Like, they just called Kent Johnston back up because he was dominating the AHL, and I sort of understood, or at least my opinion was, they had sent him down to get him away from the mess that had been surrounding the Blue Jackets. They called him back up because he's far too good for that league.
Yeah.
But their season is over. Like, what are you doing by not playing the kids? Like, That's the whole focus of this team for the rest of the season, shouldn't it be?
So when you say that I don't watch,
I'm not accusing you. I'm saying in a general sense, we don't watch a lot of CBJ.
I know you're not, but I'm saying I don't, game to game, I don't necessarily look at, like I do with the Sens and a couple, but I don't with Columbus say like the ice times. So
I saw it on...
is this a consistent thing? Because
No.
Because the one thing I would say that if I'm a coach, God, I would, and I'm going to take this as much as I can back to the Sens at any point I can. So I wish DJ Smith had done this 2-3 years ago when guys aren't necessarily playing well. The only way you can tell them that they're not playing well is through ice time. No other, it doesn't matter what you say to them before or after. It doesn't matter on practice days. What matters is ice time in big moments. So if those ice times are a result of those players going out, were told something about what he would like them to do, and they are not executing that.
Do you think they made that decision like 4 minutes into the first period? Like, how do you end up on pace for... Like, this wasn't they played 2 periods and got benched in the third for playing poorly. He just didn't play them in this game. I understand the idea that
if it's one game,
the weapon that a coach has is ice time, and that's at this point the only weapon.
If it's one game, I have zero problem. I don't care because I'm not in the room.
All 3 of them
I'm not in the room.
had terrible games all at the same time.
I'm not in
as
the room.
opposed to him riding his veterans trying to win a game.
I'll give the coach the benefit of the doubt, but what can't happen is that consistently. Consistently, they cannot play 7-8 minutes a game.
Yeah, these are your guys. These are your future. This is all you have if you're Columbus Blue
So
Jackets.
if this is done through, hey, I'm asking them to do something. Maybe they didn't do it at practice. Maybe they came in late to something, and it's a way of punishment. Sometimes that you find out the reasons why are nothing to what they appear. So I try as much as I can to give the benefit of the doubt to not being inside of a room when it happens once.
Okay, so let's just say
twice.
6 out of the next 8 games, all 3 of those guys play under 12 minutes. Is that a problem?
Major.
Yeah.
It's like fire the coach problem.
Yeah. Because that's all this team has left is to build these guys up.
But I'm trying to look at this objectively because DJ Smith should have done this with Brady and Tim and Josh and Drake and all of these guys. He didn't do it with them, and it didn't matter.
That's why they like him so much now.
Yeah, but it didn't matter that DeBrincat and Batherson were like minus 1,000 last year. They just went out every time there was a power play and every second shift, and they're playing 18 minutes, and it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But 2 years ago, that should have happened with the young players. When they're young and they're coming in, that should happen when they're making mistakes because it's the only thing that the coach has.
Yeah, snap the leash a little bit here.
So DJ Smith did not do that in order to try and be closer with them when it came time to winning. He could stick with them because they weren't going to turn on him. But he went too far. They didn't win. And now his time is like, I mean, it's ticking by every day.
Well, they've brought in someone to advise him, Jacques Martin, who had a very long, successful run here in Ottawa and has gone on to be successful in other places. He was actually GM and coach at different points in Florida, assistant coach in Pittsburgh as a Stanley Cup ring from there. But certainly he's most well known for what he did here in Ottawa.
Yep.
They rehire him as a senior advisor to the coaching staff. And look, it's relevant. It's
more relevant than you're giving it credit for because this guy was
you don't
the
host
most
a press conference.
No, this guy was the most successful coach in the history of the team.
I understand that if it's anyone but him,
then you don't host a press conference.
Maybe. But here it is. It's Jacques Martin, and things aren't going that great. So let's get his face back out there.
Most successful.
We're doing
coach.
Things. We're not doing the thing that
Who's the
everybody
most
wants.
successful coach in Leafs history?
I don't know. Conn Smythe.
Yeah, but the late great Pat Burns.
Sure.
Like
Pat Quinn had a couple of pretty good runs.
The late great
Punch Imlock.
Right.
Like we got to go back a ways.
But if Pat Quinn or Pat Burns were alive today, and the Leafs rehired Pat Quinn or Pat Burns to be a senior advisor, there'd be a goddamn press conference, and you'd be happy about it.
No, I wouldn't.
So you would.
I wouldn't.
It's the same
Hold
thing.
on. Let's start here. If the Sens turned around tomorrow and fired Jack Capuano and brought in a new assistant coach, would you give him a press conference? Would it depend on the name?
If it were Jacques Martin, I would.
Yeah.
He's the most successful coach in their history.
I just think you cut the knees out from under your coach a little bit. The more you keep talking up the coach's advisor or the assistant
okay,
coach.
but let's get it straight. The coach's knees are almost already cut.
Yeah.
And if the coach doesn't start winning goddamn hockey games, then he's going to be fired anyway.
No, he's not. By all accounts, he's just going to get to run out the year again.
No, he's not.
Well, we'll see.
That's
Did you not
true.
see Michael Andlauer's comments out at the Board of Governors meetings?
Oh, because what they say
stop.
and what they do.
They have had multiple opportunities with big, long breaks coming off, big, brutal losses to make a change, and they haven't done it.
And you want to bet if they lose 6 in a row that they're going to fire DJ Smith?
It'll be over. Who cares at that point?
What do you mean? The future of the team. You don't care because you're not a Sens fan. Sens fans care.
You're not a Sens fan.
No, but the future. I care
keep
about
hitting me with that.
I care about the people who care about the team. And the people who care about the team deserve something to be excited
My
for.
point, which is quite reasonable, is that had you done it earlier,
you have to tell yourself it's reasonable, it might
the
not have been.
season might have been salvageable.
I
In
agree with
your
that.
scenario,
No, I
they've
agree.
lost 6 in a row, and now the season is over, and now we'll do it.
Because we are
if they lose 6 in a row, the season's
we are
over.
going to harken back.
Get your head around that.
We are going to harken back.
If they lose 6 in a row from where they are right now, the season is over, new coach or not.
Yes. But we're going to harken back to they should have fired DJ Smith earlier. They didn't do it. We agree on that. Okay? You and I are on the same page. But what they're doing now...
I have to reevaluate my page.
Reevaluate the book. So we're on the same page. There is no, we think differently about this. They should have fired him before. They didn't. Season's probably over anyway. If they lose 6 in a row, of course it's over. But I don't care as much. I care about the future of the team. I care about the fans and the excitement level of what.
But this is clearly nothing more than a PR move. Here's a face from a better time. Get him out there.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I don't think you bring in somebody as a quick PR move to...
No, not the hiring, the press conference.
No.
I don't think you bring...
Stop with the press conference. If they hired...
Well, that's the thing you're arguing with me over.
Well, I know, and you're
So
wrong.
stop.
No, but you're just wrong. Jacques Martin has been around long enough.
Then hire him as the head coach.
Is one of the most respected people.
That's worth a press conference.
It's one of the most respected people in
Agreed,
hockey,
man.
And the most successful coach in their history.
And I said if it had been anyone but him, you wouldn't have probably done the press conference, which says all it needs to say about the position.
He's going to be a part of the team moving forward and the most successful person in their history.
All right. So what do you expect his role to be?
I expect his role to be exactly what they say. I think they actually want to give DJ a chance, but what's happening?
He's had a chance or two.
No, but what's happening right now is that all of DJ's allies are starting to go. And the world around DJ Smith is becoming, they're not his people,
No.
his guys.
I think they just hired a knife over his head.
Okay, you can call it what you want. And
I'm not sure they would drop Jacques Martin back into that job, but he is another person who is not part of DJ's crew.
But don't you think that's a good thing?
Yes, I think anything that takes power away from DJ right now would be a good thing.
I would agree. DJ is supposed to be the head coach and the guy who's supposed to lead the team
DJ is about to become John Schneider.
On the ice back. Yeah, but that's okay to me. I don't think the head coach should be given all of this power. And if you feel like...
It wasn't okay with you when it was John Schneider.
What's that?
You had problems with Ross Atkins and this predetermined way of running games and whatever. To me, that's what's
if you're
about to
comparing
happen.
Ross Atkins to Jacques Martin with the knowledge,
I'm
you're
talking about
mistaken.
one guy who is just sent out there as the puppet master while everything else happens behind the scenes.
No, he's not. John Schneider was the puppet master and had to do what
He was
had
the
to be
puppet,
done.
not the puppet master.
He was the puppet.
Yes.
Yes.
DJ
Thank you for
is
correcting
looking
me.
more and more like the puppet at this point. They're not firing him, but they're going to have
No, because I don't
everyone
think,
else around
I don't
him.
think John Schneider, unfortunately, was the yes guy in that whole hierarchy of Blue Jays and the organization. And you're getting the job, John, because you are the yes guy. And you better fall in line or you'll just be gone. DJ's not that guy. DJ now is not necessarily having the resources around him to feel kind of comfortable and safe that if he doesn't win now, he's going to be gone. But if he doesn't win now, he's going to be gone anyway. So he shouldn't be looking at it like there's a knife or that Jacques Martin or Daniel Alfredson. He has had ample opportunity to try and win. And it doesn't matter if the GM is gone or his allies are gone. If he doesn't win, his career in Ottawa is over. Period. I don't care if Pierre Dorion was still the GM.
Let me ask you then, as someone who's been here covering this team since Jacques Martin was the head coach, if they had just today or at any point fired DJ and brought in Jacques Martin as the new head coach, would you have viewed that as a good stabilizer here? Or is his, despite all his knowledge, like there comes a point where your day is maybe past? Like, would that have been a suitable replacement in your mind?
It's a really good question because I don't think long term that Jacques Martin is the answer.
No.
But I do think the knowledge that Jacques Martin can bring and the help that he can bring is invaluable. I respect him so much for...
What if he was the interim guy? You fired DJ today, hired Jacques Martin as the head coach for the rest of this year to stabilize things, and then when you've brought in your new GM, you hire your long-term head coach.
I would like it better, but I'm not sure you'd get to the end goal any differently.
Okay.
Like, I don't think Jacques the long-term answer.
No.
So if you're hiring him as the interim to try and get a little juice.
Or even just to implement a fucking system of some kind.
But then I'm going to assume. But I'm going to assume that if you implement a system with Jacques Martin and he's not your long-term guy, then another system is going to be implemented after that.
I would just like these guys to learn to play a system because I don't think DJ has one for them. Like
I can't disagree with you.
Yeah.
But the whole point is that I think Jacques is not. You asked me the question of whether Jacques should be the interim coach. I don't think so because I don't think he's the long-term answer.
Right.
And if I think he could really help if he was given 2 or 3 years to work with the group, I think this team would be a whole lot better. But I'm not sure that he's the long-term answer for this team. So if he's not the long-term answer, he comes in, he implements a new system that they have to try and learn, and then at the end of the year they bring somebody else in that they have to learn their system.
Right.
I think you got to go out and find your guy. And if DJ Smith somehow pulls a rabbit out of his hat and gets this
I believe today they're 7 points back, but with 4 games in hand.
Yeah.
Maybe 5.
He'd have to really continue on what's happened here lately and just win a
Is it 3 in a row, 2 in a row? The win on Tuesday against the Rangers was pretty impressive. Full 60-minute.
It was. Yeah. And especially with Shesterkin and net.
Yeah.
And Forsberg looked good.
Yep. He looks like the type of guy, like you just ride him now for a bit. Like Forsberg's a guy who's kind of streaky, but when he gets hot, he's pretty good. You don't want to go back to this.
Well, you need a goaltender to get hot, and I don't care about feelings or like you just need games won right now.
As we sit here on Wednesday, I don't think we've seen an announcement who's playing on Thursday against Toronto. It should be Forsberg. It should be Forsberg.
If it's not, they're wrong.
Is Korpisalo back? I know he kind of got tweaked something.
Yeah, I believe it's
fine.
not too serious,
Yeah,
but the answer is Forsberg anyway.
Yeah.
So, between what you just said about Korpisalo and Forsberg, there is no question. Forsberg played well. Korpisalo was a little bit nicked up. Give him more time. Forsberg's hot.
Yeah.
You need a big win.
Yeah.
On tonight. So, I think long term, Jacques Martin can really help this team. And don't mistake for a minute that Jacques Martin is part of kind of the group to help with the way that he goes about things. But again, who do you think had a say in this? Do you think this was just Steve Stais?
No, it's
just Michael Andlauer.
Yeah.
Do you think Daniel Alfredson?
Probably.
Oh, I can guarantee you that Daniel Alfredson had a part in this. And
I haven't been here long enough to know what his relationship with Jacques was like. I assume it was fine, but I don't know if it was great or they stayed in touch or anything like that. Yeah.
I think very respected.
Yeah, okay.
Daniel Alfredson liked to play both ends of the rink. It mattered to him.
Yep.
And Jacques Martin overcompensated in the early part of his career about playing in his own end and giving up a little bit of scoring along the way. And when it came down to they need goals in the playoffs, it didn't work. But I think there's a lot of respect between those two guys. So what's happening around DJ Smith is
it's closing in though.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
But it should be.
Yes, it should.
And so to me, there's no controversy of there's a knife and look at all the walls. They're closing in on DJ.
Maybe knife is strong. I just mean if DJ was to be fired tomorrow, you now have someone in the organization that if you needed to drop in for a couple months or the rest of the season could quite capably do it.
Yep.
Your replacement is now in the house.
But maybe
the call is coming from in the house.
For sure. And I always had fun with I know this is probably not a good example for some of your listeners, and I don't really even care about the CEBL or whatever it's called. But I do know James Darwin fairly well. Coach of the University of Ottawa GGs.
Right.
And now coach of the Ottawa Blackjacks.
Right.
They hired James Darwin to be, and I would bring him on the radio and go, dude, I'm sorry. I could look it up, but there's 100 words in your title, and I don't know what it is. But it literally was basketball analytics, strategic advancement of whatever.
Yeah.
And
basketball dude is your title on this show.
And it was when I would talk to him off the air, it was James, they just hired you to be the next head coach. No. I'm no, come on. They did.
Yeah.
They made up a title for you, correct? And he's well, say made up a title. It's a new position and
It's like an
blah, blah,
offensive
blah.
coordinator
I'm like,
in
fine,
baseball.
James, you don't have to tell me. We're friends. I don't care for you to tell me because I don't care about the league. I don't. Like, I care about you as a human being, and I care about local products in Ottawa doing better, and I hope for Ottawa it succeeds. But who wins the CEBL championship? I do not give a crap.
Right.
But I care about him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, they just hired you to be the new head coach, and it seems like, at least from the outside, and call me a liar, that they made up a title so you could get there, so that when the team's not doing well, they have somebody to put in. Mm-hmm. So it's the same scenario. If DJ
Well, lots of teams have advisors. Like, that part doesn't
no,
bug
but
me.
if DJ fails, like,
Yeah.
let's say he goes on a 6-game losing streak,
Yeah.
Jacques Martin will be the new head coach for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think that's right. I
So-
think that guy is now in your organization anyway. I don't think it's plan A.
It's not.
to drop him in there, but
I agree.
But break glass in case of emergency. We have this guy.
Yes, because they didn't have a guy.
No, they didn't
Before,
No,
to carry
well,
them
I guess
through.
in theory, if you wanted, Jack Capuano's been a head coach in the league before.
Jack
but that's
Capuano
much of the
might be a
same.
worse coach than
Yep,
DJ Smith.
I think you're probably right about that.
So-
but he's been a head coach, so
Anyway,
you could do it.
But they hired Jacques Martin to help advise and give some thought to how the organization can improve. And he is so respected that I truly believe that that's why they hired him. But you're not wrong that if something goes awry here and DJ doesn't make it through the end of the year,
here's the guy.
I think it's okay to have another guy. Look, your job as a professional head coach is to win. DJ Smith is on year, what, 6?
5 at least, yeah.
So he hasn't won.
No.
I don't care who's around you. I don't care if nobody's in the organization or they just hired 17 advisors. If you don't start winning like now, you're gone. That's
Like
it.
to see Jacques Martin literally on the ice every day with Drake Batherson going, when the puck is at the
Yeah,
point,
I know.
you're here. When the puck's coming around the boards,
But again,
you're here.
all reports, all reports are that when he was in Belleville, I told you this before, when he was in Belleville and when he was in junior, that's exactly what the coaches would do. Every its own practice, they'd bring him over. Hey, you need to be here.
Stand here.
Yeah, you need to be here. And then he would go, okay,
Got it.
I will do it. Come game time, he's not doing it.
No.
So the next day, Drake, we had this conversation yesterday. I'm going to need you to try again to do this.
Right.
Okay, coach, got it. Not going to do it. So, okay, that's kind of who he is.
Yeah.
You can get Jacques Martin, Daniel Alfredson. You can get a million people. If people don't want to do it, they're not going to do it.
Right.
So Daniel Alfredson was on the bench in Sweden.
Yeah.
So if he was in the bench in Ottawa against the Leafs and the Rangers, this would be a different story. Like, he was at 2 games. Oh, we're in Sweden. It's his thing.
Sort of throw him.
They
a
didn't
bone.
have to put him on the
No,
bench.
That's right.
But they did.
Did you like it?
Loved it.
Yeah.
I don't, because to me, it doesn't, we're way past the point of, I don't care if DJ Smith feels pressure.
Does it not feel a little like Drake rubbing Nick Nurse's shoulders in the NBA final? Like, you're not really a part of this, could you?
Yeah. But I don't care if DJ Smith or Jack Capuano or Davis Payne feel pressure.
Yeah.
They
Oh, I
have
forgot about Davis Payne, another former head coach. Ottawa's swimming in replacement options.
They're swimming in people. But that's the world of the NHL. People
Yeah.
get recycled all over the place. Anyway,
100%.
I just think this is a really good
Guy
move.
Boucher running my power play in Toronto. So.
My power play. I love it. Was that the same? No, not the same. Well, it would have been the same, like, man advantage. Not a power play, but man advantage, where they showed the heart and dedication to tie that game up against Boston, and with like just seconds to go to have another game where they got a point.
Yeah.
I think that was amazing.
Okay.
Didn't you?
Yeah. I'd rather have the point than not.
I'd like to see, love to see the goalie screw it up and Brad Marchand put it into an empty net with 3 seconds to go. That also made me happy. So I got a lot
You
of
got
that
Joseph
game.
Wall you're blaming for that. 11 shots against in a 5-minute overtime, and you're blaming Joe Wall for that loss.
Did he screw it up at the end?
No.
Of course he did.
Willie screwed it up at the end.
Yeah,
Stop it.
Willie did
It's
too.
3-on-3. Crazy shit happens.
It was amazing.
Flip of the coin.
But I'm saying, like, the Leafs come back, get a point, because I tell you that that's what they do. And you go, oh, they got problems, and they
They are 5-6 in regulation, and you're telling me things are all okay.
No, they have balls.
Yeah. That's what I hear, man. I've been told that a couple of times.
One thing we do have is balls.
Yeah.
So good for them.
They got them too.
They got
And
balls.
all they do is fight. They get points. And that's the thing.
Except Ryan Reeves.
We'll have another. Yeah.
Not you, man. You're sitting on the bench. 3 minutes ice time.
We'll
in that
have
game.
another discussion about. So the Leafs got. Did they lose another one in overtime or shootout after that or before that?
Oh, probably a dozen before that. They haven't played since Saturday. Schedule's been weird.
No,
for
but
them.
before that, the last game before the Boston game.
I honestly can't remember who they played on Thursday.
I feel like they also got a point somehow.
Yeah, might have been the Panthers. I think that was they won that one. Remember the Panthers thought they had won, but the goal got called back.
The whole point, though, that I'm trying to make is that we need to look at this, and because I can tell you that players look at it this way.
Just win, baby.
No, it's not even wins. It's we need to get a certain amount of points in a certain window. And that's how they look at it. That's how coaches
5-game sets.
That's how
7-game
coaches
sets.
present it to them. And so as long as they're on track to get like if you lose 2 in overtime and you get 2 points in 2 games and it helps you get your 7 points in
Yeah, that's all fine. But
5
it doesn't
game.
matter in the playoffs.
I agree.
And like in Boston, or that Boston game, they outplayed Boston. Like they were fine in that game.
Matt,
that game was not
I
concerning.
agree with you, but the way you and I look at it and the way I'm just telling you the way they look at it.
Yeah.
That they go through these 5 or 10 game stretches.
You got to get this number of points.
Yeah, and the points they could care less whether they win games or lose games.
That's not true. They want to win. These are athletes. They want to win.
Okay, but I didn't mean it that way. I just meant that at the end of the 5-game stretch, if they've accumulated 7 points, and that's what their coach said to them, hey, we need 7 points in the next 5 games.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that they don't care how they get there. So if it's 2 losses or 3 losses in a shootout or overtime that allows them to only win 2 of those 5 games, they go 2-2-1 and they get their 7
that's
points.
Only 5 points, but
2-0-2-1, whatever.
now you've added an extra column.
Yeah, that's actually what I meant. 2-0-2-1.
Okay.
So if they get their 7 points because they've actually lost 3 games in a shootout or overtime, and they've only won 2 of their last 5 in regulation, they don't care if they got to 7 points. That's what I'm saying. How they get there?
I don't think that's correct at all. I think a couple heartbreaking losses, but you get a point in overtime or whatever fucks you up. But that's an argument we've had
Not in the
before.
regular season. They don't care. They don't care.
Let me ask you, just because I find this interesting, just in its coincidence, I'm not sure it means anything, but the Coyotes just wrapped up a 5-game stretch where they beat the last 5 Stanley Cup champions.
Incredible.
Colorado Avalanche, Vegas Golden Knights, Tampa Bay Lightning, St. Louis Blues, and they had the last one, I believe, is against Washington, who they pumped like 6-0 or something. Arizona on the come a little bit, perhaps with news to come, according to Elliot Friedman, about a new arena. That we've seen that play 1,000 times. But to me, the most interesting part of this isn't just that you beat the last 5 Stanley Cup champs in a row to give yourself a 5-game win streak. How often has anyone ever had the chance to do it? That's your schedule lines up, right? As the last 5 champs. The mathematics to set a record like this, or the statistics, or whatever you'd call it.
The probability of that schedule happening again.
And then you winning them all.
Yeah, is like 0.
It hasn't happened since it was an original 6 league when there was only 5 other teams to play.
Now, I don't want to come down too hard on you here.
Okay,
but
you're going to take this away from me.
No, I'm not, because it's incredible. Like, I think that the coincidence and the
again, I don't know if it means anything, but it's kind of fun. Yeah.
My only kind of negative to this, because it's an impressive streak, it's a great stat.
Yeah.
How many other times have teams faced 5 in a row and just not been able to win those games, and you never heard about it?
Right.
Because they didn't win the games.
Right.
So I don't know how many times that's actually happened. I'm guessing not that many.
No. That it just happens, those 5 teams line up in a row on your schedule.
I'm guessing not
for
that,
any team.
Not that many.
Yeah.
But I'm also guessing it probably has happened a few times.
Sure.
And teams go 3-2 and you never hear about
Right.
it. But the fact that it's not only the fact that it happened, but if the Boston Bruins went and did it,
Which they easily could have, like last year when they just dummied everybody.
Right. It would be, oh, cool stat, but you're an amazing team.
Yeah.
We're talking about this because it's Arizona.
Right. No, I think that's right. And again, I'm not trying to chip away at it. To me, this is more fun than it is impressive because St. Louis and Washington do not look anything like their Stanley Cup goodness rosters, right? Colorado's still legit. Tampa's
Tampa's not very good.
Fair enough. But they're in between, let's say, Vegas, Colorado on one level, Tampa, and then St. Louis, Washington down. Like, as you sort of step down the ladder of what's happened to these teams since they won the championship, I'm just looking at the number of, as you said and correctly pointed out, how many times does that opportunity even present itself on the schedule?
It does.
And then to actually do it as a fairly mediocre team yourself in Arizona.
Yeah.
They've been better than I expected this year.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
But Tampa's right now 11 wins and 16 losses.
That's not very good. That isn't very good. You're right.
Now, let me point out.
What's their actual NHL record?
They're 11, 10, and 5.
Aha.
But
so above Gary's 500.
Right. But if you just want to total it up of like, hey, they've played 26 games.
Yeah, 11 wins.
They've won 11 of them. That's not a great team. Now, they're fifth in their in their division right now.
Yeah.
They've played more games than
almost anybody
else. But if you take even the Leafs are 12-6-4.
Yep.
And are 12 wins, 10 losses, but have only lost 6 of 22 in regulation. So you can take these stats and kind of manipulate them here, manipulate them there. The more impressive part to me is even if Tampa's mediocre, you got two really good teams. You got a average team and then two not very good teams.
Sure.
The fact that an Arizona Coyotes team that plays in a...
The fact they won 5 in a row is amazing enough, yes.
That it feels like they're going to move from a university rink to like an outdoor pond for 2 years before they get an arena.
Do you see the comments coming out after the Board of Governors?
I know.
And
committed to the bit, man.
Gary's pointing
They are committed
this is about the Olympics. And Gary points out they haven't even started building the arena in Milan yet for the 2026 Olympics that the players all want to go to. And the number of people underneath who I thought fairly cleverly pointed out, well, why don't you just indefinitely plan to play the Olympics in a college rink with no future plan to do anything better? So
yeah, and comparing, they haven't. The fact that they haven't,
it takes a while to build a rink.
But the fact that they haven't started building the rink in Milan is not a good thing, and you shouldn't.
That's his point, though. You all want us to go to the Olympics. Can you promise us there will be somewhere we can play?
Right.
There's not hockey rinks up the ass in Milan, Italy.
But it doesn't do him any favors in the Phoenix area to go.
No, everyone easily gets to point at his hypocrisy. And
you're playing at a college rink, and you're literally going to play in an outdoor pond if you can't stay in that rink until the other rink is
around Arizona.
No, until the other rink is built.
Yeah,
it's going to take a long time to be able to do that. The more impressive part about this is the Arizona Coyotes in the middle of the regular season have beaten 5 teams in a row, and included in that are Vegas and Colorado.
Yes.
2 of the top teams that they are chasing.
Ingram, lighten her up. He's on fire.
Right?
Yeah.
2 of the teams that they need, like, points against those teams are actually more valuable than just the 2 points because other teams that play those teams aren't getting 2 points when they play those teams.
Yeah.
Like when other teams have Vegas and Colorado lined up on their schedule, they're losing those games the majority of the time.
Right.
So...
Well, Edmonton trying to climb back in, they're going to have to take some points off Colorado and Vegas to get past Arizona, and Arizona just took 4 of them.
Yeah, so that's a major issue for Edmonton because those 4 points that Arizona got there are more valuable than other points. But it's an impressive little stat for sure.
And like I said, to me, it was more fun. It's more coincidental than it is. And to just look at it and go, how did that even line up for you? And then you went and did it. Everything about it's just kind of...
Yeah, it is cool. Yeah. I actually hope success for that team.
I'm just sick of hearing about them, right? They're just build it or fucking move. I'm tired. We do this. It was in 2009 we were doing the Jim Ball silly.
I get it.
Yeah.
But if you don't think people in Arizona are sick and tired of hearing about Austin Matthews and the Leafs...
I don't think the people of Arizona are hearing a whole lot about that, to be honest with you.
Well, they have the previous 2 years, and I can tell you they're not happy about it.
You think
3 people that live in
You think
Phoenix that care.
Yeah, and that's my point. You think Arizona sports broadcasts are overrun with Toronto Maple Leaf highlights? That's probably not what's happening. University of... I think I was going to say the University of Phoenix, but that's the online one.
I would like...
I don't think they have a football team.
Calling them expats or people who have moved down there that used to live in Canada, that a lot of people live in Phoenix. They go down there and they winter and they live there.
What was the name of the guy who started the LA Kings? Something Cole.
Oh.
Anyway, he said, I thought it was a no-brainer to start an NHL team here because of all the Canadians that moved to the area. He goes, what I found out is most of them moved because they didn't like hockey. so giving them a team here.
Yeah, it's still, I don't buy that. I actually think it's so weird that I concur with the National Hockey League on, I think it can be successful there. They've just run it so poorly that they've done everything wrong in trying to build a team in Phoenix, that they moved them to, when I drove to the arena that day.
Canada?
No, it's worse. When I drove to the arena in Glendale, I'm like, where the bleep are we going? Like, there's no way. Like, I thought Sunrise was far in Florida. People complain here. I get it. But it's another world because when you leave the Phoenix area, you're driving in desert and it looks like there's nothing ahead for 100 miles. And then all of a sudden
there's a hockey rink.
No, and then all of a sudden you pull up and there's this, it's literally in Glendale, like they just plop down this area of like, hey, you know what'd be cool? We're going to put...
You're driving from Toronto to Coburg, but there's nothing on the side of the highway until you get to this mall and restaurants.
Yeah, and then there's like a bunch of bars. Yes. There's the football stadium, the hockey rink,
right?
A couple of hotels, and then nothing. Like just.
But come on out, enjoy the game.
Right. And you think that's how you're going to be successful? They've screwed it up, but I do think there's a good hockey market. I remember walking down the street in Scottsdale, which is just north of Phoenix. It's like it's the Canada of or the Rock Cliff, or probably the Rock Cliff is a better example because it's the Shishi rich area. But I was walking down the street to Scottsdale and we were looking for a place to go out, and like very prominently, home of the Detroit Red Wings, like Red Wings bar. Want to come and see the Red Wings game? Come here. Get another
just north of Phoenix.
Yeah, but get another block up the street.
Blackhawks bar.
Same thing.
Yeah.
And Chicago, Detroit, huge. There's a Blackhawks bar. There is a Red Wings bar. There is a Bruins bar. So people love their hockey down there. They just haven't. It's like people who lived in Ottawa. They loved Toronto or Montreal before Ottawa had a team.
Yeah.
And they said they'd never, ever, ever change. And they don't change their allegiance.
It's their kids usually.
Yeah.
That's why this takes so long.
It does. It takes 30, 40 years because they don't change. But what they do is say, it's kind of cool to go to the game.
Yeah.
My kids are growing up and, they're Sens fans because their friends
and I still
are Sens
like
fans.
hockey.
Right.
So if Crosby was coming or a McDavid was coming.
There's a lot of people that are neutral now about, like, even if you're a diehard Habs fan, I know diehard Habs fans that want their team to win so badly. But if Ottawa wins, my kids like Ottawa. And, I go to the bar where a bunch of people I'll watch a few games.
Right.
And that's what should have happened in Phoenix. It just never did.
I got two little guys that I'm pretty close with up here. One's 8, one's 5.
Yeah.
And their dad, for whatever reason, is a Blues fan. And so it's always fun for kids to push away at dad, right? Like, no, dad, we don't like you. And at the time, I'm like, for lack of a better term, the fun uncle.
Yeah.
Matt likes the Leafs. We like the Leafs with Matt, right?
Yep.
Until they go to school. And they hung with it for a little while, but it's not very fun to be the only one in the class who likes the Leafs. It's fun to poke at dad. It's not fun to
be picked on at school.
And it wasn't even picked on because they were too young yet, even for like kindergarten, grade 1.
I don't mean bullying.
But like the teacher even is like, "What are you wearing that Leafs hat for?"
Yeah.
And it stops being fun to wear the same hat as Uncle Matt. It's every other kid likes the Sens, and they're pulling away from me, man. I'm losing them. Like they
And as the fun uncle, you care about those kids.
Yeah.
And you don't want to actually do something from a sports perspective to sever that relationship. So you're going to be, as much of a Leafs fan as you are, you're going to be more accepting that they're Sens fans.
Yes.
Because you care about them.
Yeah. But we're still going to have fun with it. We're going to play it up a little.
Of course. And when they get older, it'll be easier to be able to do that. But it's not.
But I can see it already where they on Jersey Day, they don't want to wear the Leaf jersey to school because they'll be the only kid in their class in the Leaf jersey.
Right.
And that's when you say it takes time here in Ottawa, it's working its way down. And that class that maybe their parents 10 years ago were buying 50% or 30% Habs jerseys, 30% Leafs jerseys, and 40% Sens jerseys. Yeah. That number of Sens jerseys creeps up as it more and more infiltrates the market. Because as you said, at one point, all these people were Leafs or Habs fans.
Imagine if Sens make the playoffs.
It's fun for me to watch these two kind of pull away from me on like.
Yeah, but imagine when the Sens make the playoffs.
I remember saying to little Lucas, and I said, are we still cheering for the Leafs? We like these? I don't know. They lose a lot. Well, I'm not gonna have a hockey debate with Lucas. I'm like, this is the best they've been in a long time. Like they're winning more than they're losing.
You're so smart. They're listening to this.
They're losing.
Smartest kid alive.
Yeah, they're losing a lot of the important games. I get where you're coming from, but really, as someone who loves those kids, I don't want to pull them down with me. There's a chance to escape the pain that comes with being a lifelong Leaf fan.
The only job of the National Hockey League to kind of get this back on track. The only job of
the track.
Yeah, we don't have one.
Okay.
The only job of the National Hockey League when you go to a market that isn't necessarily a die-hard market, I don't care what market it is to make sure that you do well enough that people start. And when you're around, like for the Sens, they did well enough 10 years after that they were making the playoffs every year, one of the best teams. And 10 to 15 years after they were in, they were going to Stanley Cup Finals. They were heartbroken with Jeff Friesen. They were like first in the league, losing to the Leafs. Yeah, it would have been great to beat them, but they were relevant. And so then those people...
Well, exact same timeline, man. If you do the math, Nashville. Get relevant.
Tampa.
At the very beginning, you're right. 04, Tampa wins that cup after coming in at the... But Nashville, comes in a little while later. Eventually, it stops being overrun with Red Wings fans every time you meet up in that Central Division playoffs fans. And not only does it start to be full of Preds fans, they're doing their own thing. They got the chants and the songs and all these sorts of things. Like, get in there and make some money early. Like, it's going to be overrun with opposing franchises.
Sure.
But let it take time.
Have enough success.
But Phoenix has been there since
have enough success
96.
that people can get behind the team. And go when those people start having kids. And those people
paying that money are what keeps the franchise alive. Letting the Red Wings fans come in, letting the Blackhawks.
Of course it is. Yeah. But when those people grow up and then those people start having kids and those kids start going. Haul. Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's a long haul.
That's the only way to do it,
And in Ottawa and in Nashville and in Tampa, those are three organizations.
San Jose.
Yeah, I think
got really good.
If you went though and looked at when those teams came in the league and said, "Are those teams going to be successful?" Okay, Ottawa's in Canada. We can.
It's a different standard,
but we're also going to Nashville, the home of country music. We're going to Tampa Bay, Florida. We're going to San Jose, California. And you know what they've done? They've lasted. They had success, relatively early. And people turned into fans, and now 30
and they've made it their own thing. They all have specific vibes.
Oh,
like it's cool.
Going to a lightning game and the lightning bolt coming across. And
the Sharks were well recognized for a very long time as having the loudest crowd in the league.
Nashville's a great crowd. Right. They don't care.
Dallas.
Hey, I don't know offside. They're going to tell me when I get there, but man, I'm going to have fun when I go.
And I'll learn it. I'll figure it out.
Yeah. So it's just all of that concept is what they were trying to do in Phoenix. But they screwed it up. They
Multiple
just didn't.
Times.
Yeah, they didn't do it right. It doesn't mean to me still that Phoenix isn't a market that can't be the Nashville or the San Jose. Has anyone ever been to San Jose?
Well, I assume someone has.
No, but like, have you guys
I've never been to San Jose. No,
I haven't either. Yeah. And every time I get told, it's like this boring, industrial, high tech, like there's nothing really there.
Yeah, Silicon Valley.
It's San Francisco and Oakland. It's not San Jose.
Yeah.
But they made people care. And that's the whole point of this.
It is a business, and the PA, I can't believe the PA ever let the Coyotes move indefinitely into that college arena that said, hey, we're telling you right up front, we ain't making money. We ain't even trying for the next couple of years. That's hockey-related revenue.
Yeah.
How did the PA ever sign off on that and say, and how did the richer teams of the league allow it? As long as you have consciously decided for the indefinite future you aren't trying to make money, then you don't get, what do they call it? Revenue sharing either. If you're not trying to make money, nobody's cutting a check and sending it down to you either. You should have done a better job with this.
And this is Gary Bettman's probably worst thing.
Well, we just talked about it, right? Gary's legacy, if he had just pulled the plug on Arizona one of these times that it was pretty obvious he should have earlier on, we'd be looking at it going, Anaheim won a cup, been successful. San Jose's been great.
Nashville got to a final.
As we said, Dallas, Nashville, Tampa, the Florida Panthers have been to the finals twice.
Yeah.
Carolina's got an interesting thing. This Southern footprint thing that he's done has been widely successful, whether as Canadian hockey fans want to hear it or not. It's worked. It has worked.
For sure.
This one hasn't. And for whatever reason, he's insisting on going down with that ship and tying his legacy to it.
Well,
just get out of there.
See, I
Try Houston.
I wouldn't get out of there.
Try Salt Lake.
I would try and do it a different way and make the market work. It just sucks for Coyotes fans that kind of invested thinking that they would be the San Jose's and the Tampas and the Nashvilles and the Carolinas at some point.
I guess. I don't know what that other way is. I don't know what the new thing is. The people have tried and failed, and anyway. That's more than I thought we'd talk about.
You build a rink downtown Phoenix and you make it cool to come. Like
there's already an arena downtown Phoenix, and they don't want the Coyotes in it. So now you got to go and build another one in Tempe or whatever they're working on.
Yeah, but that's what they should have done in the first place. Build a rink downtown.
Well, they were downtown, right? At the, what do they call it? The Great Western.
They didn't build that. There's poles in the middle of Viewpoint.
No, it was shit. What was it called?
American
West.
Airlines Arena.
No, American Airlines Dallas. I think it was America West Arena. And then it was dilapidated or whatever. So the Suns built their own arena and said, we don't want you here. You're not going to be a part of this. Yeah. And that's when the Coyotes moved out to Glendale.
I know.
So
they've screwed that market up.
Yeah.
I think that's what we've got to here.
Yep.
But hopefully they get it back because I actually love the area. I love the market. I think there's some diehard hockey fans there, but they just haven't done a good enough job. And the fact that, like, I've been to all of those markets that, like, I've been to Nashville, I've been to Tampa, I spent a lot of time in Florida with that rink way further out than it needs to be. It's incredible. Like, I've gone down on vacation and somebody offered me like center ice box, free food, free booze, go see the Bruins and the Panthers tonight. Right. I'm like, nah.
It's far. Not interested.
Seriously. Like, I'm on the beach.
Yeah.
And I got to go to my hotel and I got to get ready. And then it's a 40-minute drive out there.
I remember Doug McLean.
No thanks.
Telling a story, who used to coach and run the show down there. Yeah. Him telling a story of being in a bar, like basically across the street in like whatever was a hotel complex or something. And I'm asking the bartender, can you put on the Panthers game? And the guy flipped it to the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
And him like, no, I'm at the Florida Panthers. And the guy looked at him with a blank stare, and he's like, it's across the road. You don't know this team exists.
Yeah,
like,
seriously. I've never seen anything like it. And it was eye-opening for me at the time. I was in Sawgrass Mills Mall for the first time in my life. And did I tell the story already where I did one part of the mall? And I'm like, oh, it's a cool mall, but it's not quite what I thought. Like, people built this up. And then I realized I was in one of 7 sections of the mall. And there were 6 more sections. But I ended up passing, and I get it, like this is different. But at the time, the Sens were really, really good. Mm-hmm. Okay? Like top of the league good. Jason Spezza and Danny Heatley and Ray Emery and Brian McGrattan were all walking down the middle of the mall. Not a person.
No.
Like not anybody even had a clue who those guys were.
It could have been Alexander Barkov and Matthew Tkachuk. People in a mall weren't likely going to
but
look
the
up.
mall is right beside the rink.
I understand.
So I just want to make that clear.
Yeah.
That this is right beside where, if you are a fan of the Panthers, you're probably going to live, because you don't live in downtown Miami
Right.
and drive out every day. You don't. It's for snowbirds that move to Sawgrass or move to Sunrise or somewhere close to the rink.
Yeah.
Not anybody knew who these guys were. And they were like top of the league at that time. And like nobody cared. So
Well, that's appealing. That's why a lot of players end up there, right?
right. No.
Everybody's got different desires.
No state
so
tax is probably number
That's
one.
a big
but
part for sure. So we'll wrap this one up, man. This will be the last time you're in studio for a little bit, but we are going to dial you up, and you'll still be kicking out the Versage sessions from Europe. We'll do them online.
When I get to, at some point, I'm going to a little town in Calabria in the south of Italy to do some real sort of deep dive family lineage
Right.
stuff. And this is a very small
out the
town
Versace name.
in the southern part of Italy that I don't expect them to even speak much English at all.
Right.
And
Have you got yourself a English-Italian dictionary, anything? You're just going to count on Google Translate?
No, well, yes, but I'm on about a 76, 77 day streak on Duolingo.
Okay, nice.
So I've been preparing for this
Yeah,
a little bit.
okay.
I can order probably in a cafe. Duolingo is very like, here's what you need to do to talk at the airport and talk in a bar and talk in a restaurant and talk.
I've just been studying the bar part.
talk to normal people. You probably can't do, but no, I've been trying, and I'm looking forward to the adventure for sure.
Right.
But to be able to sort of dig up, this is the interesting part, and I'll let you know how it goes. So I have in my possession, or I've been sent from my uncle in Florida. Within a 10-year span, there are 4 different pronunciations or spellings of my last name.
Yeah, I think you were telling me this at the brewery.
4 different ones, and they're all on like marriage certificates, death certificates, within a 10-year span of somewhere in the early 1900s. It's either like Versaci,
Versace.
CE, Versace, GI at the end. There's another one too and I have all these documents.
Right.
So I think, like, my uncle called me and he's like, well, I think this is incredible that you're doing this. Good luck, because here's 4 documents with 4 different last names within a 10-year span of like 19.
You're going to find 4 long-lost families over there.
Seriously.
Yeah.
But I can't wait to do it. And I think that's the point of the adventure of not only doing that, but trying to get away a little bit and just trying to recharge. And, you know, sometimes when you need to do something else to at least have perspective when you get back.
Sure.
That's what's happening here. I don't know when I'm coming back. I'll be back at some point, but I don't know exactly when that is. And that's okay.
100%, man. Sounds like a hell of an adventure.
Well, a little scary. I'm still worried about the root canal coming up.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's also an adventure. But,
other than that,
we wish you luck
I'm
there.
hoping to be like healthy going over there.
Yeah,
but,
that'd be a good call, man.
But anyway,
Yeah.
It's nice to see you as always. This is fun, and I promise you, I'll be yelling at you at like in Italian. I'm hoping that I can yell at you in Italian, in
Portuguese.
Spanish, in Portuguese, and maybe
a little Croatian.
maybe Greek
Sneaking that-
as
yeah,
well.
okay.
We'll see. Croatian. We'll see. But if I can yell at you in 2 or 3 different languages where you go, I don't really know what you said, then I'll say it more.
Va for Napoli.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Goodbye, Matt.
Yeah. We'll wrap this one up here and call it a day. So we'll hear from Lee later on from Europe. We've banked a couple of things for you here.
What?
That's, yeah.
No, we've cheated. We've done, actually, I can't wait for people to hear one of our
Yes.
sort of banked episodes, because I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
And I don't only think it's awesome, you opened up a little bit to some of the things going on or that have happened to you, and how much other things other than sports mean to us.
It's true.
I would call it. And you and I share that, so I'm looking forward to people hearing it.
It's true, and we'll hold that off. We'll let you know at a later date. When we decide to drop it, then we'll let you in on what it is. So stick around for that. For Lever Sage, my name's Matt Robinson. Make sure you're subscribed to the pod wherever you're hearing us right now. Give us a follow on social media at Tall Can Audio, and we will see you all next time.
We've had lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of fun, but now the time has come to go. If this Silcon was found dead in his bed tomorrow, I'd be in heaven still doing this show. See you some other time. Ugh.